Welcome to Mr. Sleepy Stories. Tonight, we'll speak softly about the mysterious and soothing world of cats, gentle companions whose habits, warmth, and quiet instincts have comforted humans for thousands of years. If you enjoy what I do here, please like, subscribe, and share your experience with this video topic in the comments below. I love reading your stories and hearing how these calm facts help you unwind before sleep. It's easy to think there was one moment when cats decided to move in with us. One cozy fire, one bowl of milk, one purr that began it all. But the truth is softer and more surprising. It didn't happen once. It happened twice. Long before there were cities, humans in the Near East began storing grain. Where there's grain, there are mice, and where there are mice, there are cats. Wild cats started showing up around these early farming villages, sleek and quiet shadows drawn by the easy meals. The people noticed, the cats noticed, and slowly the two species began to tolerate each other's company. The farmers benefited from fewer pests. The cats enjoyed safety and food. It was never a grand agreement, just quiet coexistence. That's where the first bond began. Centuries later, and hundreds of miles away, something similar unfolded in ancient Egypt. But this time, the relationship grew into reverence. Egyptian art began to show cats beside nobles and gods. They were guardians of homes, symbols of fertility, protectors of the afterlife. Cats became so cherished that families mourned them like kin. When a cat died, it was said the entire household shaved their eyebrows in grief. Archaeologists have even found carefully wrapped cat mummies given the same honors as people. For a long time, scholars assumed these Egyptian cats were the start of it all. But genetic research told a quieter, more complex story. By tracing DNA from ancient cat bones, scientists discovered two separate domestication events, one in the Fertile Crescent and one in Egypt. Each group of cats evolved alongside humans in slightly different ways, both ending up friendlier, calmer, and more comfortable living close to us. Eventually, as people traded goods along caravan routes and sea voyages, these cats met again. Their bloodlines mixed, their traits blended, and together they spread across continents, to Europe, Asia, and finally around the world. Every house cat alive today carries a whisper of those two beginnings, the practical hunters of the Near East and the sacred companions of Egypt. It's strange to think that while we were building our first civilizations, cats were quietly building a relationship with us, not through training or force, but through patience. They watched, waited, and walked into our lives when they were ready. In many ways, they chose us twice. Now, when a cat curls up at the edge of your bed, purring softly in the half-dark, you're hearing an echo that began 10,000 years ago from two corners of the ancient world, united by a shared rhythm of trust. In ancient Egypt, when the sun slipped below the horizon and the desert cooled, people believed the veil between worlds grew thin. And in the half-light, one creature walked that delicate line better than any other, the cat. Cats moved differently from everything else in Egypt's landscape. They appeared and vanished soundlessly, their golden eyes reflecting the moon like two living lanterns. To Egyptians, this wasn't just beautiful, it was otherworldly. They believed cats could see what humans could not, the spirits of ancestors, the gods that watched from shadows, and the restless souls that lingered between realms. A cat's calm stare wasn't simply watchful, it was divine awareness. The goddess Bastet embodied that mystery. Depicted with the head of a lioness or a sleek domestic cat, she was both gentle and fierce, protector of mothers, bringer of joy, guardian of the dead. Temples dedicated to Bastet shimmered with bronze statues and carvings of cats in graceful poses. People left offerings of milk, jewelry, and carved amulets shaped like tiny felines, asking for her blessing and protection. In her presence, no evil spirit could pass. At night, when people heard the soft pad of paws in their homes, they didn't feel alarm, they felt comfort. To them, a cat's quiet walk through the darkness was a sign that the spirit world was being watched over. Cats seemed to belong to both sides, the warmth of life and the silence of death, moving between them without fear. Even their ability to hunt at night was seen as a sacred act, keeping dark spirits at bay just as they kept rodents from the granaries. When a cat died, it wasn't treated as a mere pet's passing. Families mourned as if they'd lost a guardian soul. The cat's body was carefully wrapped in linen, adorned with beads, and buried in sacred grounds near Bastet's temples. Thousands of these tiny mummies have been found, each one a testament to how deeply Egyptians believed cats were connected to eternity. Some owners were even buried beside their cats, hoping they'd guide them safely through the afterlife. What's most touching is that this reverence came not from fear, but from gratitude. Cats had earned their sacredness by choice. They came close to human fires, accepted our offerings, but never fully belonged to us. Their independence made them seem closer to the gods, free spirits who simply allowed humans to share their company. So when you see your cat pause and stare into an empty corner, just for a moment, it's easy to understand why ancient Egyptians thought they were seeing something we couldn't. Maybe, in some small way, they still are, walking softly on that thin border between here and whatever comes next. If you've ever walked into a Japanese shop or restaurant, you've probably seen it. A small cat figurine with one paw raised, frozen mid-wave. It's called the Maneki Neko, the beckoning cat, and it's one of Japan's most enduring symbols of luck. But behind that cheerful little statue lies a quiet, centuries-old story, one that began with a single real cat, a thunderstorm, and a chance encounter that changed everything. The legend tells of a humble monk who lived alone in a small, crumbling temple on the outskirts of Edo, what we now call Tokyo. He had little to his name, a leaky roof, an empty rice pot, and a stray cat he'd taken in. Despite his poverty, he shared what little food he had with the animal, speaking to it as if it were an old friend. The cat would sit outside the temple gates each evening, calmly grooming itself or gazing down the dusty road. One afternoon, a samurai lord was riding by. The sky was heavy with rain clouds, and he paused near the temple just as lightning began to split the horizon. As the storm grew fierce, he noticed the cat sitting near the gate, raising one paw, not in alarm, but in a gentle beckon, as if inviting him inside. Curious, the samurai dismounted and stepped toward it. The moment he did, a bolt of lightning struck the very spot where he had been standing. Shaken but grateful, he followed the cat into the temple to find shelter. There he met the monk, who offered him tea and conversation while the rain fell outside. The samurai, moved by the man's kindness and the strange twist of fate, became his benefactor. He provided money to repair the temple and make it flourish. When the cat eventually passed away, the monk built a small shrine in its honor, and the legend of the beckoning cat began. Over time, artisans crafted small figures to honor that story. The cat's upright paw, raised in greeting, was said to invite good fortune and friendship. If the left paw is raised, it calls in people, customers, visitors, companions. If the right paw is raised, it calls in wealth and success. The figures were placed in shops, homes, and temples, each one silently inviting blessings with its gentle wave. What's soothing about this story is its simplicity. A starving monk showed kindness to a stray, and that kindness returned to him in ways he could never have planned. The cat's gesture, small, calm, almost human, became a symbol of connection between strangers, of how small moments can ripple outward into good fortune. Even now, centuries later, the Maneki Neko sits by countless doorways, its soft smile and lifted paw quietly reminding people that luck doesn't always thunder in. Sometimes it just beckons softly, waiting for you to notice. Viking history is usually told in the language of storms and steel. Long ships slicing through icy seas, warriors shouting under northern skies, but tucked quietly among those tales of conquest is a softer story, one that purrs rather than roars, the story of Viking cats. Long before they were household pets, cats were shipmates. Vikings brought them aboard their longships, not as ornaments, but as guardians against the smallest of enemies, rats and mice that gnawed through ropes, chewed grain stores, and spoiled food. Cats, agile and self-reliant, handled these problems silently. While men slept in the belly of the ship, cats prowled the wooden decks under moonlight, keeping order in their own way. But the Vikings saw more than just usefulness in them. They saw a kind of grace, a creature both fierce and calm, independent yet loyal when it chose to be. In their mythology, cats belonged to Freya, the goddess of love, fertility, and beauty. She wasn't a distant or abstract deity. She was earthy, emotional, and powerful. Freya's chariot, according to legend, was pulled by two giant cats, creatures strong enough to move a goddess, yet gentle enough to curl beside her feet. Because of her, cats became sacred animals, symbols of luck, charm, and divine favor. It was said that sailors who treated cats well would have calm seas and safe returns. To harm a cat, especially one connected to Freya, was unthinkable. Women sometimes gifted kittens to newly married couples as tokens of fertility and protection, a blessing from the goddess herself. In that world of iron and frost, cats represented balance, softness among warriors, warmth amid the cold. You can imagine the sight, a great carved ship rocking gently on gray water, its dragon-headed prow cutting through mist. Somewhere near the crew's quarters, a cat curls beside a lantern, tail flicking in rhythm with the waves. To the men, its presence was as reassuring as the stars that guided them home. A creature of the land that somehow belonged perfectly at sea. When archaeologists later uncovered Viking burials, they sometimes found the remains of cats alongside their owners, clear proof that these animals were not mere stowaways. They were companions, protectors, and quiet symbols of the goddess's favor. carried even into the next world. It's easy to forget that behind the myth of the raging Viking stood real people who sought comfort, luck, and companionship in the same small gestures we do today. The soft rumble of a purr, the silent watching of a trusted animal, the promise that no matter how far from home you sail, some gentle spirit keeps you safe. So, when a cat curls near you, silent and watchful, it's not so different from the ones that sailed beside the Norsemen, a little echo of Freya's guardians, still traveling with us through the long nights of the world. To a medieval sailor, the ocean was alive, vast, moody, and impossible to predict. The sea could cradle your ship in calm one moment, then turn furious and wild the next. And in that age, long before meteorology or maps of wind currents, men searched for signs wherever they could find them. Some looked to the clouds, others looked at cats. Cats were constant companions aboard ships. They hunted rats that chewed through ropes and grain sacks, and their quiet company eased the loneliness of endless weeks at sea. But sailors soon began to notice something uncanny. Just before a storm, cats would grow restless. They'd pace the deck, meow at nothing, or lick their fur furiously, sometimes against the grain. Minutes or hours later, the wind would rise, and dark clouds would swallow the sky. To the men watching, it seemed too perfect to be coincidence. Before long, a belief took hold that cats didn't just sense the weather, they controlled it. A cat licking its fur backward was said to raise the gale. A sneeze meant rain was on the way. If a cat turned its tail to the wind, it was summoning rough seas. And if one sat staring over the water for too long, some sailors swore it was calling up a storm. But the superstition wasn't always fearful. Some thought cats could calm the ocean too, that if you treated your ship's cat kindly, it could smooth the waves and bring wind to your sails when you need it most. There were captains who refused to sail without one, and others who whispered a small prayer of thanks when a cat curled up near the helm, sleeping soundly under clear skies. Today, we know why cats acted the way they did. Their whiskers are so sensitive that even tiny changes in air pressure or static electricity can unsettle them. Before a storm, when the air thickens and the atmosphere hums with tension, cats feel it first, in their fur, their ears, their nerves. But to sailors centuries ago, that sensitivity seemed like magic, a living barometer, a creature tied to forces beyond human reach. The irony is gentle. Sailors both feared and adored these animals. A cat might be blamed for bad weather one day, then protected as a sacred good luck charm the next. They were never thrown overboard, because to harm one was to curse the ship. It was safer to stay on their good side, to feed them, talk to them, and watch carefully when they stirred. There's something poetic in that old superstition. A ship in the middle of an endless gray sea, men scanning the horizon for danger, and somewhere on deck a small cat licking its fur, calm, deliberate, and entirely unaware that the world believes it commands the wind. Maybe, in a way, it did, for in that lonely expanse its quiet presence could steady hearts better than any compass. In the fog-soaked hills of ancient Scotland, people once whispered of a shadow that padded softly through the night, a creature with jet-black fur and a patch of white on its chest. They called it the Cat Seath, and they said it was no ordinary animal. It walked upright when no one was watching. It moved between worlds as easily as it crossed the heather. And most of all, it lingered near the souls of the dead. The Celts believed the Cat Seath appeared when someone had just passed away. It would circle the body silently, tail flicking, eyes glowing like embers. Some feared it came to steal the person's soul before it could ascend to the afterlife. Others believed the opposite, that it guarded the spirit, keeping away darker forces until the proper rites were done. Either way, its presence was powerful, something that demanded respect and care. Because of these beliefs, villagers held special ceremonies called Féil Fadalach, or late wake. For an entire night and day, friends and family would stay with the deceased, keeping candles burning and conversation alive, so the Cat Seath couldn't sneak in unnoticed. Offerings of milk were sometimes left by the door, a quiet gesture of peace, a way to say, "We honor your passage. Let this soul go unharmed." To people living close to nature, where the line between life and death felt thin as mist, it made sense that such a creature could exist. Cats were already mysterious, creatures of dusk and dawn, appearing and disappearing without a sound. They slept by the hearth, but stared at the darkness as if they saw what no one else could. The Cat Seath was an embodiment of that mystery, a guardian of the unseen, walking softly where humans dared not tread. Over time, the myth softened. In later stories, the Cat Seath became more of a spiritual messenger than a thief, a silent escort for souls on their way to the next world. Some said that if a cat chose to sleep near the dying, it was a sign of compassion, guiding them toward peace. Even today, when a cat curls near someone in their final hours, people sometimes feel comforted by the old memory of that legend, as if some ancient kindness still lingers in their presence. The Cat Seath reminds us of how long cats have lived beside human wonder. We've watched them vanish into the dark and return without explanation, and something inside us still believes they bring messages from beyond. In Celtic myth, they were never just animals, they were keepers of the threshold. The last soft sound before silence, the last companion before rest. So if you ever see a black cat pause under moonlight and look into the distance, don't be afraid. Somewhere in that gaze lies an echo of an old promise that no one truly walks into the unknown alone. For centuries, people have said that a cat's purr has power. Not the mystical kind that calls down storms or spirits, but something gentler, closer to the heart. Long before medicine could explain it, farmers, sailors, and grandmothers whispered that the steady rumble of a cat's purring could help bones knit and wounds mend. If a cat slept near someone who was sick, they said, recovery came faster. It sounded like superstition, yet today, science is beginning to nod in quiet agreement. A cat's purr isn't just noise, it's a vibration. When a cat exhales and inhales, tiny muscles in its voice box twitch at a rapid rhythmic pace, producing a hum that falls between 25 and 150 hertz. Curiously, that same frequency range is used in physical therapy treatments for humans. Doctors have found that low-frequency vibrations can stimulate bone growth, relieve swelling, and even strengthen muscles after injury. It's as if the cat carries its own healing device, powered by breath. Scientists think cats may have evolved this ability partly for themselves. In the wild, conserving energy is vital. Cats spend long hours resting. Purring might act as a form of internal maintenance, a self-soothing vibration that keeps their bones and tendons strong while they lounge for most of the day. Even large cats, like cheetahs and pumas, have been heard to purr softly after exertion, as though tuning their bodies back into balance. But humans, ever observant and sentimental, noticed how this sound made them feel too. The soft vibration seems to reach us beyond the ears, through the skin, through the chest, into the nerves. Studies show that listening to a cat's purr can slow our heart rate and lower blood pressure. It eases anxiety, smooths breathing, and calms the kind of stress that medicine rarely touches. Maybe our ancestors didn't need numbers and data to sense that. They simply knew it felt healing. In old European cottages, people would lay a cat across an aching limb or near a broken rib, believing its hum would help the body remember how to mend. Sailors at sea said that ships with cats on board had fewer illnesses. Even soldiers in wartime trenches sometimes kept cats for comfort, not just to chase rats, but for the reassuring sound that reminded them of home. Now, when a cat curls beside you and begins that steady, contented vibration, you're sharing in something ancient, a small rhythm of life that connects biology with comfort, evolution with empathy. It doesn't matter whether you call it superstition or science, the effect is the same. Peace seeps quietly into the room, pain softens, and the world feels just a little more whole. In the bustling world of ancient Rome, a place of marble temples, crowded markets, and evening feasts lit by oil lamps, even the smallest traditions carried deep meaning. Among them was a quiet, lovely custom. When a couple married, friends might give them a cat, not for catching mice, not as a luxury, but as a wish, a symbol of fertility, harmony, and a household blessed with gentle abundance. To the Romans, every animal reflected a piece of nature's rhythm. Cats, with their calm grace and unwavering self-assurance, embodied the qualities a new marriage was meant to nurture: balance, patience, and quiet strength. A cat didn't obey, but coexisted. It demanded respect, yet offered affection freely. To bring one into a home was to invite both independence and intimacy, two things any marriage needed to thrive. The symbolism had roots in Roman mythology. Cats were connected to Libertas, the goddess of freedom, and later to Diana, goddess of the moon and protector of women. Diana was often depicted in the company of cats or lions, creatures who hunted alone yet remained fiercely loyal to their kin. To gift a cat was to invoke her blessings, that a woman might be strong in her own right and that the home would be fruitful under her watchful spirit. Romans saw fertility not only as the bearing of children, but as a general flourishing of life, crops, health, happiness, and peace. The purring of a cat in the home was thought to attract this kind of prosperity. Its steady rhythm was like a charm against discord. And because cats were affectionate mothers to their kittens, they became quiet symbols of maternal success, reminders of care and continuity. Newlyweds would often place their gifted cat near the hearth, the sacred center of the Roman household. The animal's presence was believed to strengthen the bond between husband and wife, ensuring warmth and stability in the years to come. If the cat curled near the couple's bed, it was said to bring restful sleep and fruitful dreams. If kittens soon followed, it was taken as a good omen, a whisper from the gods that the home was blessed. Even centuries later, fragments of that belief linger. The idea that a cat brings balance to a house, that its calm presence makes a place feel whole, those thoughts are still quietly alive. There's something timeless about how a cat moves through a room, unhurried, observant, peaceful. It teaches stillness without silence, affection without need. So when you see a cat nestled by a family's window, soaking in a patch of sun, you might think of those Roman couples from long ago, the young wife receiving a small, warm bundle of fur as a gift for the life ahead, a wish not just for children, but for comfort, laughter, and the kind of love that grows best in peace. Among the many stories told about the Prophet Muhammad, one of the gentlest begins not in a grand hall or on a battlefield, but in a quiet moment at home, morning light filtering through a doorway, the sound of soft breathing, and a cat asleep on his robe. Her name, according to tradition, was Muezza. She had followed the Prophet often, curling beside him during moments of reflection. One day, as the call to prayer approached, he rose to prepare himself, only to find Muezza sleeping soundly on the sleeve of his garment. Rather than wake her, he reached for a knife, carefully cut the fabric around her, and left the piece behind. He went to pray, his sleeve shortened, but his compassion intact. When he returned, the cat stirred and stretched, unaware that she had been given such quiet respect. For many Muslims, this small story captures something larger than words, a vision of kindness so deep that it extends to every creature that shares our world. In Islamic teaching, mercy is not a concept reserved for people. It's a thread that runs through all life. To disturb an animal without cause, to strike it, or to deny it care was considered cruelty. But to protect even its sleep was seen as divine gentleness. Cats, in particular, came to hold a special place in Muslim homes. The Prophet was said to have spoken fondly of their cleanliness and grace. He allowed them to drink from the same water he used for ablution, calling them pure creatures. Mosques welcomed cats to roam freely, where they often slept among worshippers, their presence seen as a quiet blessing. To this day, cats wander through courtyards in places like Istanbul and Cairo, treated as honored guests rather than pests, living reminders of that ancient compassion. The story of Muezza isn't about grandeur, it's about awareness. The Prophet noticed her. He saw peace in her rest and chose not to break it. That decision, so small, so ordinary, still echoes centuries later as an example of what true kindness looks like. Not loud, not public, but thoughtful, instinctive, and free of pride. And perhaps that's why the tale endures. It reminds us that gentleness is not weakness, it is wisdom. The understanding that harmony with life comes from respect, not dominance. To let a sleeping creature lie undisturbed, To shape our actions around its comfort instead of our convenience is a quiet kind of love that needs no reward. Even now, when a cat curls up beside you and drifts into sleep, there's a certain holiness in the stillness that follows, a small echo of that ancient morning when one man chose silence over disruption and mercy over haste. Among the many stories told about the Prophet Muhammad, one of the gentlest begins not in a grand hall or on a battlefield, but in a quiet moment at home. Morning light filtering through a doorway, the sound of soft breathing, and a cat asleep on his robe. Her name, according to tradition, was Mueza. She had followed the Prophet often, curling beside him during moments of reflection. One day, as the call to prayer approached, he rose to prepare himself, only to find Mueza sleeping soundly on the sleeve of his garment. Rather than wake her, he reached for a knife, carefully cut the fabric around her, and left the piece behind. He went to pray, his sleeve shortened, but his compassion intact. When he returned, the cat stirred and stretched, unaware that she had been given such quiet respect. For many Muslims, this small story captures something larger than words, a vision of kindness so deep that it extends to every creature that shares our world. In Islamic teaching, mercy is not a concept reserved for people. It's a thread that runs through all life. To disturb an animal without cause, to strike it, or to deny it care was considered cruelty. But to protect even its sleep was seen as divine gentleness. Cats, in particular, came to hold a special place in Muslim homes. The Prophet was said to have spoken fondly of their cleanliness and grace. He allowed them to drink from the same water he used for ablution, calling them pure creatures. Mosques welcomed cats to roam freely, where they often slept among worshippers, their presence seen as a quiet blessing. To this day, cats wander through courtyards in places like Istanbul and Cairo, treated as honored guests rather than pests, living reminders of that ancient compassion. The story of Mueza isn't about grandeur, it's about awareness. The Prophet noticed her. He saw peace in her rest and chose not to break it. That decision, so small, so ordinary, still echoes centuries later as an example of what true kindness looks like. Not loud, not public, but thoughtful, instinctive, and free of pride. And perhaps that's why the tale endures. It reminds us that gentleness is not weakness, it is wisdom. The understanding that harmony with life comes from respect, not dominance. To let a sleeping creature lie undisturbed, to shape our actions around its comfort instead of our convenience, is a quiet kind of love that needs no reward. Even now, when a cat curls up beside you and drifts into sleep, there's a certain holiness in the stillness that follows, a small echo of that ancient morning, when one man chose silence over disruption and mercy over haste. There's a certain sound that can settle even the busiest mind, the low, steady hum of a cat's purr. It's not loud, not forced, just a soft vibration that seems to fill the space between breaths. Most people hear it and feel calm, but beneath that peaceful noise is something astonishing, a natural frequency range so precise that it mirrors medical therapies designed to heal the human body. When a cat purrs, it's not just a sound of happiness, it's an intricate physical process. Tiny muscles within the cat's larynx or voice box rapidly contract and relax, causing the vocal cords to separate and vibrate during both inhaling and exhaling. This produces a rhythmic vibration between 25 and 150 hertz, the same range used in certain therapeutic machines to stimulate bone growth and muscle recovery in people. That number isn't coincidence, it's biology. Low-frequency vibrations like these can increase blood flow, reduce inflammation, and encourage cells to repair damaged tissue. Doctors sometimes use specialized devices that emit vibrations around 30 hertz to speed healing in fractures and to maintain bone density in astronauts who've spent too long in weightlessness. Cats, it seems, have carried a built-in version of this technology for millions of years. Scientists believe cats evolved purring as a kind of self-healing mechanism. In the wild, conserving energy is everything. Big bursts of effort, a sprint, a fight, a leap, must be balanced with long stretches of rest. Purring may help maintain bone and muscle strength during those quiet hours, letting cats recover without constant movement. Even when injured, cats are known to purr, not in joy, but in what appears to be self-soothing, as if their bodies are humming themselves back into alignment. For humans, that vibration seems to work on another level. Sitting with a purring cat can subtly slow your heartbeat and lower your blood pressure. The frequency itself passes through your chest and into your nervous system, signaling safety, calm, and connection. Some studies suggest that even recordings of cat purrs can reduce stress markers in the brain. The body listens to that rhythm and interprets it as peace. What's fascinating is how effortless it all is. A cat doesn't think about producing the right frequency. It doesn't aim to heal or relax you. It simply exists in a state that happens to generate harmony. Nature often hides its miracles behind ordinary things, and this might be one of them. A household pet capable of vibrating at the same rate used by hospital-grade healing devices. So the next time your cat curls up beside you, breathing slowly and steady, and that faint vibration fills the air, you can think of it as more than comfort. It's a quiet echo of nature's engineering, a small living frequency that has soothed bones, hearts, and minds for thousands of years. A lullaby, written in vibration, shared between species, softly tuning the world toward calm. Sometimes the best medicine doesn't come in a bottle. It curls up quietly on your lap, stretches once, and begins to purr. Within minutes, your shoulders loosen, your thoughts slow, and your heartbeat softens its pace. You may not even notice it happening, but science does. Sitting with a cat for just 15 minutes can lower your blood pressure, calm your heart, and ease your nervous system into a gentler rhythm. The reason lies in the body's hidden wiring. We all carry two main switches for balance: the sympathetic system that gears us up for stress, and the parasympathetic system that helps us rest and heal. When life keeps us in fight or flight mode, our heart pounds harder and our vessels tighten. But a soft, rhythmic presence, like the slow warmth of a cat resting against you, flips that other switch. The body reads the signals of safety: steady breath, even warmth, and predictable motion. It's enough to tell your brain, you can relax now. Studies have shown that petting a cat steadily for just 10 to 15 minutes can lower your blood pressure by several points. The skin feels the repetitive motion, and the brain releases oxytocin, the same hormone tied to affection and bonding. At the same time, stress hormones such as cortisol begin to fall. The effect compounds when the cat starts to purr. That low vibration works almost like white noise, syncing with the body's natural rhythms and creating a quiet feedback loop of calm. Your heartbeat slows, which makes the cat settle even deeper into rest, which steadies you further in return. There's a warmth to it, too, not just physical heat, but emotional temperature. Cats, despite their reputation for independence, choose carefully where they give their trust. When one chooses to nap on you, the moment feels earned. That sense of safety goes both ways. Humans find reassurance in being chosen. Cats find comfort in the stillness of our laps. Two nervous systems, two hearts, quietly aligning for a while. In hospitals and care centers, this simple act has even been used as therapy. Elderly patients who hold cats for short periods show improved mood, steadier blood pressure, and a deeper quality of rest. It isn't magic, it's biology and empathy intertwined. The body can't maintain tension while immersed in gentleness. The two cannot coexist. So the next time a cat climbs onto you, let the world slow down. Feel the warmth spread, the purring settle like distant thunder, the weight of trust pressing lightly against your chest. 15 minutes. That's all it takes for blood vessels to widen, for stress to slip away, for the rhythm of two species to find quiet balance. It's a small thing, almost nothing at all. Yet in that smallness, your body finds peace, the kind that medicine often chases, but a cat gives freely, one breath at a time. There's a subtle rhythm to life with a cat. It begins in small moments. The soft pad of paws crossing a room, the gentle thud as a cat settles nearby, the faint hum of a purr that becomes background music to an ordinary day. Over months and years, that rhythm does something remarkable. It doesn't just calm your mind, it steadies your heart. Studies show that people who live with cats tend to have slower resting heart rates than those who don't. It's a quiet benefit, one that builds like the soft repetition of breathing in sleep. The heart, after all, listens to more than emotion. It listens to the environment. Stress quickens it. Noise, deadlines, constant movement, all send it racing. But a home shaped by gentle routine teaches the body a different pace. Cat owners often describe how their days revolve, in part, around their animals' calm habits. Feeding at dawn, a shared nap in the afternoon sun, evenings marked by the same familiar presence. Without noticing, they begin to breathe in sync with those slow, predictable patterns. When you sit with a cat resting nearby, something physiological happens. The body interprets the setting, warmth, quiet, steady sound, as safe. The parasympathetic nervous system, which controls rest and digestion, takes over from the stress-driven system that rules much of modern life. Heart rate slows, blood pressure drops. Over time, these tiny moments of relaxation accumulate, teaching your cardiovascular system that it no longer needs to live in alarm. Researchers have even found that long-term cat ownership correlates with lower risks of heart disease and stroke. The reason isn't one single event, but a pattern. Years of micro-calm, of gentle companionship that keeps the heart from constant strain. In essence, cats pace our hearts the way they pace their days, with patience and quiet control. There's also something deeply psychological at play. Cats rarely demand in loud ways. They simply exist beside us. That kind of companionship feels effortless. No need for words, no need to perform. The absence of social tension lets the mind settle, and the heart follows. When a cat curls up next to you, its breathing unhurried, it becomes a living metronome for peace. Your own pulse responds without command, slowing to match a softer world. It's easy to overlook how powerful that is. In a time when everything seems designed to quicken us, alerts, noise, expectation, the slow presence of a cat is an anchor. It returns the body to an older rhythm, one closer to nature's pace. You might not notice it happening, but your heart does. So tonight, when the house quiets and your cat stretches into its favorite corner, let that stillness reach you. Your heart will remember the cue to slow, to rest, to move in harmony with a life that purrs instead of rushes. And in that quiet, you'll find the oldest medicine there is, calm, woven gently into every beat. There's something almost hypnotic about a cat's purr, that steady, low vibration that fills a quiet room like a soft hum of life itself. It isn't just comforting to hear, it changes what's happening inside your brain. When we listen to a cat purring, something chemical and ancient stirs. The brain releases dopamine, the same neurotransmitter that floods us when we feel love, safety, or satisfaction. In other words, that sound, gentle, rhythmic, familiar, quite literally makes us feel good. Dopamine is often called the brain's reward signal. It's what motivates us to repeat what feels nourishing: food when we're hungry, warmth when we're cold, connection when we're lonely. When the sound of purring reaches your ears, it enters that same circuit. The brain interprets it as a cue of safety, a sign that everything for this moment is okay. The body responds by softening tension, deepening breathing, and easing the heart into a slower rhythm. What began as sound becomes sensation, then emotion. Scientists have tried to understand why this reaction feels so universal. One theory is that the purr's rhythm mirrors sounds we associate with comfort from the very start of life. The muffled heartbeat and steady breathing we heard in the womb. Those deep, low frequencies between 25 and 150 hertz seem to resonate not only in the air, but through our bodies. They vibrate the skin, the bones, and even the chest cavity in ways that seem to soothe the nervous system directly. It's a physical form of reassurance. But there's also something more subtle, something emotional. A cat doesn't purr just for anyone. It purrs when it feels secure, content, or connected. When your cat curls up near you and begins to hum, your brain recognizes that trust. It's an exchange of calm, A moment when another creature is not demanding or fearing anything, just existing peacefully beside you. That feeling of mutual ease is what triggers dopamine most strongly. It's not the sound alone, it's what the sound means. Over time, the brain starts to associate purring with tranquility. The effect becomes conditioned, like a melody that instantly lowers your shoulders the moment it begins. For many people, that's why falling asleep next to a purring cat feels so effortless. The brain is quietly flooded with small pulses of dopamine, encouraging rest, contentment, and a kind of emotional stillness that's hard to find elsewhere. There's beauty in how ordinary it is. A creature that once walked wild across ancient fields now lies beside us, offering peace through sound. We didn't invent chemistry. Nature did. The purr is both lullaby and medicine, working not through words or reason, but through resonance and trust. So when your cat curls up tonight and begins that soft, endless vibration, know that your body is listening, not just with your ears, but with every cell that remembers what calm feels like. It's dopamine's whisper, delivered in fur and rhythm, saying simply, "You're safe here." There's a moment that happens almost every time you reach out to stroke a cat. The world somehow slows down. The background noise of worry, the errands, the deadlines, the endless mental chatter fades just enough for you to notice the texture of fur beneath your fingers, the gentle rise and fall of breath, the faint vibration of a purr. Within minutes, your body begins to shift. Your muscles loosen, your breathing steadies, and deep within, your stress hormones, especially cortisol, start to drop. Cortisol is the chemical messenger of pressure. It's released whenever the body senses a challenge, from loud noises to emotional strain. In small bursts, it keeps us sharp and ready. But when it lingers, as it often does in modern life, it quietly wears us down. Too much cortisol makes the heart beat faster, the stomach tightens, and sleep feels unreachable. That's why gentle, rhythmic touch is so powerful. It tells the body that the storm has passed. When you stroke a cat, you activate receptors in the skin called C-tactile fibers. They respond not to strong pressure, but to slow, tender movement, the kind that mimics grooming or a loving embrace. These signals travel directly to the brain's emotional centers, triggering the release of oxytocin, the hormone of affection and safety. As oxytocin rises, cortisol falls, sometimes by as much as 30% within just a few minutes of contact. The body reads this simple act as a message: you are safe, you are loved, you can rest. Cats, of course, seem to know the rhythm by heart. Their bodies are warm, their fur soft, and their behavior calm when trust is earned. When a cat chooses to lie beside you, to stay still under your hand, it's participating in a kind of wordless therapy. Each stroke becomes a shared heartbeat, one giving reassurance, the other receiving it. Both creatures benefit. Both relax. It's a partnership that predates science itself. In one study, people who regularly interacted with cats not only had lower baseline cortisol levels, but they also recovered faster after stressful events. Their bodies learned to enter calm more easily, as if the presence of a cat had gently retrained their nervous systems. What's remarkable is that the effect doesn't depend on talking or effort. You don't need to think your way into peace. Your body finds it naturally through touch and warmth. There's something deeply human in that. In a world obsessed with speed and achievement, a cat teaches you to move slower, to let your hand linger, to feel rather than fix. The soft repetition of touch, the steady purr, the quiet companionship. It's not just relaxation, it's restoration. So, the next time your cat settles beside you, take those few minutes. Let your hand trace that slow rhythm over fur. With every gentle stroke, your body remembers what balance feels like, and your mind, for once, can rest inside the silence that follows. Most people hear a cat purring and assume it's a sound of happiness, a little motor of joy humming from deep inside a contented animal. And often it is. But that same sound, that same steady vibration can also appear in the quietest, most vulnerable moments of a cat's life. When frightened, when in pain, even when dying. Cats purr not only to express pleasure, but to comfort themselves, to steady their breathing and calm their hearts when the world feels uncertain. It's their way of whispering, "I'll be okay." Researchers have watched cats in every imaginable state, curled in sunlight, trembling in a vet's office, nursing kittens or recovering from injury, and found that purring occurs across them all. It's less a mood than a tool, a built-in rhythm for balance. Those deep, low frequencies, between 25 and 150 hertz, are not random. They match the natural vibrations known to stimulate bone and tissue repair. When a cat purrs while hurt, its body is literally sending waves of vibration through its bones and muscles, increasing circulation and easing pain. It's both medicine and melody. But it's also emotional. Purring, in many ways, is to cats what slow, mindful breathing is to humans. When we're anxious, we take deep breaths to calm ourselves. Cats purr. They engage a reflex that tells their nervous system to stand down, that danger can wait and healing can begin. It's the sound of self-care made audible, ancient instinct woven into sound. Sometimes cats even purr in situations that would terrify most animals, during transport, in strange rooms, or while being examined by strangers. It's easy to mistake that for courage, but it's more like self-soothing. The vibration grounds them. It slows their heart rate and helps regulate their breathing, turning chaos into something manageable. Nature built resilience into them not through armor or claws, but through harmony. For humans, this is quietly humbling. The sound we interpret as a gift of affection might also be a sign of trust at its most fragile, a cat's way of holding itself together in our presence. When your cat purrs on a difficult day, it may be comforting you, yes, but it may also be calming itself, sharing that calm through sound. Two living beings, each finding steadiness in the other. There's quiet poetry in that. The same vibration that marks happiness can also mark fear, pain, or endurance, yet it always sounds peaceful. Even when life hurts, a cat creates calm from within, humming the body back toward safety. So the next time your cat purrs, listen closely. It might not just be the joy you're hearing. It might be resilience, a small living creature reminding itself, and maybe you too, that serenity is something we can build even in the middle of discomfort. There's a reason a cat's purr can put you to sleep faster than any lullaby. It isn't just the sound, it's the rhythm. Listen closely, and you'll notice it follows a pattern, steady and unhurried, like slow, even breathing. Each rise and fall of that vibration drifts through the air in waves, soft as breath against skin. Without meaning to, your own body begins to match it. Your heart slows, your lungs fall into rhythm, and before long, you've drifted somewhere between waking and dreaming, guided by the quiet metronome of a cat's purr. Science calls this entrainment, the tendency of biological systems to sync with nearby rhythms. It's why people naturally sway together when they dance, why babies fall asleep against a parent's chest, and why the steady tick of a clock can slow your pulse at night. The human body listens for patterns of safety. A slow, steady rhythm means the world is calm, and few sounds express calm more purely than the hum of a resting cat. A cat's purr, usually between 25 and 30 cycles per second, mimics the natural cadence of relaxed breathing, the same pattern meditation teachers and sleep therapists try to help humans rediscover. When you inhale slowly for 4 counts and exhale for 6, you're sending a signal to the brain that it's safe to rest. A purring cat does that naturally. Its entire body becomes a rhythm of peace, and when you're near it, your nervous system listens. That's why so many people fall asleep beside their cats almost without realizing it. The steady sound, the warmth, the faint vibration under your hand, they combine into a sensory lullaby that speaks directly to the oldest parts of the brain. The parasympathetic nervous system, which governs rest and recovery, activates. Muscles relax. Blood pressure lowers. Thoughts loosen their grip. The world narrows down to breath and vibration, heartbeat and fur. In evolutionary terms, it makes sense. We've always trusted steady rhythms. The crackle of a safe fire, the pulse of waves, the heartbeat of another creature close by. A purring cat offers all of that in miniature. It tells the body, you are not alone, you can let go now. Even the pattern of the purr resembles the breathing of deep sleep, smooth, unbroken, gently looping. You can almost measure time by it, though it seems to exist outside of time entirely. Cats themselves often drift off while purring, carried by the same rhythm they create. In their presence, you simply follow. So when you lie down at night, and your cat curls against your side, that sound isn't just pleasant background noise, it's a living guide to rest. Every vibration invites your breath to slow, your heart to ease, your mind to release. It's nature's simplest sleep aid, a small creature teaching, without words, the rhythm of peace. Before their eyes open, before their legs are steady, kittens already know how to purr. Just a few days after birth, while still blind and helpless, they begin to hum, faintly at first, like a small motor hidden beneath fur. Those tiny vibrations, no louder than a whisper, carry a simple message. I'm here. I'm alive. I'm safe with you. For a mother cat, that sound is everything. In a nest of newborns where sight and coordination haven't yet arrived, purring becomes a kind of sonar. a soft pulse that helps her locate her kittens by touch and vibration. When they nuzzle close to nurse, she feels their tiny hums resonating against her body, confirming that they're breathing, feeding, and thriving. In return, she purrs back, her deeper vibration enveloping them in warmth. It's a dialogue without words, a lullaby that flows both ways. Scientists believe this early purring evolved as a survival mechanism. In the wild, silence could mean danger, predators, cold, or a lost kitten unable to call out. But purring is different from crying. It's quiet enough to keep the nest safe, yet strong enough for the mother to feel it through her body. It's communication by touch rather than sound, a heartbeat language that passes reassurance from mother to child. The frequency itself seems perfectly tuned for comfort. Between 25 and 150 hertz, the same range known to promote relaxation and healing. Even at this early stage, those gentle vibrations may help stimulate growth and circulation, soothing the tiny muscles that are just beginning to move. In a way, purring is the first rhythm of self-regulation, teaching the kittens calm before they even understand the world. As they grow older, the habit never leaves them. Cats continue to purr throughout their lives, not just when happy, but when seeking comfort, healing from injury, or bonding with humans. It's the same instinct carried from the cradle, to create safety through sound. When a cat curls against you and begins to purr, it's sharing that same ancestral signal it once gave its mother. A reminder that peace can be created, not just found. There's something profoundly tender about that continuity. The first sound a kitten ever makes isn't a cry for help, it's a hum of connection. It doesn't demand or complain, it simply reassures. It says, "I belong here." And maybe that's why humans respond so deeply to the sound. We recognize in it something familiar, the same longing for warmth, for closeness, for the quiet assurance that life, for this moment, is safe. So the next time you hear a cat purr, think of it as an echo from the very beginning of its life, a small voice of survival turned into a language of love, still speaking softly through the years. Some sounds belong to all nature. Rain falling in on count leaves, waves breaking on sand, and the low, steady hum of a cat at rest. What's remarkable is that this hum isn't confined to the animals who curl up beside our beds. Across plains, jungles, and mountains, wildcats like cheetahs, pumas, servals, and ocelots share the same rhythm. Their purrs vibrate in the same quiet frequency range as our domestic companions, between 25 and 150 hertz. It's as if nature designed one universal tone to express calm. When a cheetah lies in the grass after a long chase, chest rising and falling in an even rhythm, it purrs just like a house cat settling into a nap. Scientists call this a continuous purr, produced during both inhaling and exhaling. The muscles of the larynx, the voice box, twitch at a constant speed, causing the vocal cords to open and close rapidly. The air passing through creates vibration, and vibration becomes that soft, rolling sound we know so well. What's fascinating is how evolution divided the feline family. Some species, like lions and tigers, roar but cannot truly purr continuously. Their throats contain a flexible ligament that allows deep, thunderous calls across long distances, powerful for territory and dominance, but incapable of the gentle hum of contentment. The smaller cats, by contrast, kept their simpler structure. They gave up the roar in exchange for something quieter, a vibration that soothes instead of warns, that comforts instead of commands. For wild cats like the cheetah, purring serves more than one purpose. Mothers purr to communicate with their cubs, just as domestic cats do. The cubs purr back while nursing, letting their mother know they're safe and alive. It's a language of touch and sound, useful even in tall grass where visibility is low. And when injured or exhausted, wild cats have been observed purring to themselves, a form of self-reassurance that may also speed healing through the same low-frequency vibration. That's what ties them all together: domestic cats, wild cats, and even humans who share their company. The purr's frequency sits in a range known to stimulate bone growth, relax muscles, and calm the nervous system. Whether it's echoing softly in a living room or rippling through the golden savanna air, it carries the same physiological signature: peace in motion. There's something beautiful in that continuity. Across thousands of years of evolution, from forest to fireside, this one sound has remained unchanged, an ancient heartbeat turned audible. When you listen to your cat purr, you're also hearing the echo of cheetahs under starlight, of wild mothers soothing their cubs in dens, of life finding calm, even in untamed places. So the next time your cat hums softly in the dark, remember, it's not just your home it fills with peace. It's the same frequency that once trembled through the wild, a small reminder that comfort, like the purr, belongs to every corner of the earth. When a cat loses its sight, the world does not go silent. It simply rearranges itself. Every sound, every vibration becomes a landmark. And for some blind cats, one of the most important tools for navigating that invisible landscape comes not from the world around them, but from within, the soft, steady hum of their own purr. Scientists and behaviorists studying blind or partially sighted cats have noticed something fascinating. Many of them purr almost constantly while exploring new spaces. At first, it seems like a habit or comfort, and it is that too. But the sound also serves a practical purpose. The low-frequency vibrations of a purr travel outward, bouncing off nearby walls, furniture, and floors. Those faint echoes return through the air and through the cat's sensitive whiskers and skin, helping it build a three-dimensional sense of where it is. It's not sonar in the strictest sense, but it functions much the same way, a quiet form of acoustic orientation born from calm. Cats are exquisitely tuned to subtle feedback. Their whiskers detect shifts in air pressure, their ears swivel independently toward the tiniest rustle, and their paw pads feel minute tremors through the ground. When they purr, those same systems absorb how the vibration interacts with the environment. A closer wall produces a slightly stronger reflection. An open doorway softens the return. Even without vision, the cat gathers an outline of space from these cues. What's remarkable is the choice of method. Most animals, when frightened or disoriented, make sharp, loud sounds, cries, clicks, shouts. Cats, by contrast, respond to blindness or uncertainty with gentleness. They hum. They use a sound that calms the body while guiding the mind. In losing sight, they rely on serenity, not noise. It's as though they've learned that peace itself can be a form of navigation. This adaptation also keeps them safe emotionally. Purring triggers the release of endorphins and lowers stress, which prevents panic and helps the animal stay alert without fear. In a sense, a blind cat finds its way by staying relaxed, by keeping its heart rate low, its breathing steady, its awareness clear. It listens to the world through the vibrations of its own comfort. There's something quietly profound in that. To think of an animal moving through darkness, guided by its own calm, its own rhythm, it feels almost spiritual. It reminds us that steadiness can illuminate what sight cannot. The cat's purr, already a symbol of peace for humans, becomes for it a tool of survival and confidence. So when you hear a cat purring softly as it explores or rests, know that the sound may be more than contentment. It could be orientation, self-reassurance, and courage all woven into one note. A reminder that even in darkness, the calm within us can still light the way. If you've ever watched a cat sit by a window, perfectly still, yet somehow aware of everything around it, you've witnessed one of its quietest marvels, the movement of its ears. Those soft triangles, so delicate they catch light like silk, hide a small masterpiece of design. Inside each one are 32 individual muscles, all working together to rotate, tilt, and twitch the ear in any direction. That's 64 muscles in total, all devoted to listening. While we humans must turn our entire heads to find the source of a sound, a cat can do it in a heartbeat without moving a whisker. Each ear can swivel 180 degrees, independently of the other. One might be tuned toward a bird rustling outside the window, the other toward a creak across the room. The result is an acoustic panorama, a living, three-dimensional sound map of the world. This ability evolved for survival. Long before they shared our homes, cats were solitary hunters. To live alone meant to rely on precision. The slightest rustle in grass could be the difference between catching dinner or going hungry. By fine-tuning their ears toward faint sounds, the buzz of an insect, the squeak of a mouse, they became masters of stillness and focus. Their ears don't just hear, they calculate. The brain measures how sound arrives at each ear, compares the delay, and instantly determines distance and direction. It's sonar without technology, a built-in compass made of muscle and instinct. But these graceful movements aren't just tools for hunting. They're also part of feline expression. A cat's ears speak almost as much as its tail. Forward ears mean curiosity, gently tilted back, caution, flattened completely, warning. The same muscles that guide them through the wild also reveal emotion, quietly sharing what words never could. What's striking is how quiet it all is. The rotation happens so smoothly you might not even see it. Just a slight shift, a small flick, like the thought of motion rather than motion itself. And yet that single adjustment can transform a vague sound into a precise point in space. A cat can track prey or footsteps long before its eyes confirm what its ears already know. Even when they rest, cats are listening. Their ears move in sleep, reacting to distant noises while their bodies remain still. That's why a dozing cat can wake in an instant at the faintest sound. Their awareness never truly fades. It just hums softly in the background, guided by those tiny, tireless muscles. There's a quiet poetry in it, a creature that listens more than it speaks, that turns attention into art. The world, for a cat, is not chaos, but pattern. Every whisper, every vibration has a place, and with just the tilt of an ear, they find it. So the next time your cat seems lost in thought, ears twitching like little radars, remember, they're not ignoring the world, they're mapping it, hearing more, feeling more, and doing it all without a single wasted sound. To us, whiskers might seem like decoration, soft, graceful accents that frame a cat's face. But to the cat, they are instruments of perception, as vital as our eyes or fingertips. Each whisker is a silent antenna, tuned to the language of air. Through them, a cat can feel a world we can't even see. The faintest currents, the slightest shift in pressure, movements smaller than a millimeter in space. Whiskers, or vibracea, aren't ordinary hairs. They're thicker, longer, and anchored deep into the skin, surrounded by tiny blood vessels and a dense network of nerve endings. Each whisker can detect the smallest change in air movement, sending signals to the brain almost instantly. This allows cats to see in the dark, even when their eyes can't. When air flows around furniture, doorways, or moving creatures, it bends and ripples. A cat's whiskers feel those ripples. They read the invisible map of space like braille written in wind. Scientists have measured this sensitivity and found that whiskers can pick up movements less than 1 millimeter wide. To put that in perspective, it's like noticing a single grain of dust drift past your cheek. This extraordinary precision evolved to help cats hunt and survive. In the wild, every whisker twitch helps them detect prey or obstacles without sound or light. They can slip through narrow gaps without brushing the sides, judge distance mid-leap, and sense an approaching creature by the pressure wave it makes through the air. But whiskers aren't just for navigation. They're emotional barometers, too. When a cat is curious or alert, the whiskers push forward, ready to collect more data. When relaxed or sleepy, they fan softly outward. When frightened, they flatten against the face to protect from harm. The same structures that sense the subtlest breeze also reveal the state of a cat's mind. What's especially poetic is that whiskers never move randomly. Each shift, each slight angle is deliberate and meaningful. They tell a silent story of awareness by how the cat interacts with space, how it listens to the air itself. Even a gentle human breath near the whiskers can be felt and interpreted. To a cat, the world isn't just seen or heard, it's felt everywhere, all the time. In darkness, when vision fades and the room becomes a sea of quiet air, whiskers become the cat's compass. They translate motion into meaning, emptiness into understanding. It's a kind of magic that isn't mystical at all, just beautifully biological. The universe moves constantly, even in stillness, and cats are built to notice. So the next time your cat pauses, whiskers trembling slightly, as though catching a thought in the air, know that it's listening to something you cannot, the gentle shape of the unseen world, drawn not in light or sound, but in movement so small it feels like the breath of existence itself. The world is never truly silent, not to a cat. Even when everything seems still, the air around them is alive with whispers we can't hear. Beneath the floorboards, under the garden soil, behind the hum of walls and wind, there are sounds too high for human ears to notice. But cats can. Their hearing stretches into ultrasonic ranges, up to nearly 64,000 hertz, allowing them to catch what to us is pure silence, the tiny rustle of a mouse underground, the flutter of insect wings, the faint scrape of a creature breathing just beyond sight. To understand how remarkable that is, consider this. Humans hear up to about 20,000 hertz. Dogs reach around 45,000. But cats go higher still, into frequencies that even most machinery can't replicate cleanly. This means they perceive an entire layer of the world that's invisible to us, a secret soundscape filled with life. What looks like a quiet garden to our eyes is, to a cat, full of murmurs, tiny footsteps, squeaks, vibrations carried through soil and air. This extraordinary sensitivity evolved for hunting. Rodents communicate using ultrasonic chirps and squeals far beyond our range. Cats, shaped by nature's patience, learn to listen for them. Long before they were ever domesticated, this ability made them silent specialists, predators who could track the unseen. They could detect the minute tremor of movement underground and wait perfectly still for the right moment to strike. The shape of their ears helps too. Each one acts as a parabolic dish, catching and focusing sound. They can swivel 180 degrees, pinpointing the exact source of a noise within fractions of a second. Combined with their ultra-fine hearing, this gives cats a three-dimensional sense of space built entirely on sound. In the dark, they can hear the outline of a world that others can only guess at. But there's something gentle about this gift as well. While they might imagine it purely as a hunter's advantage, it also means cats are attuned to subtle harmony. The creak of floorboards, the wind under a door, the quiet rhythm of a home at night. They live surrounded by sound we cannot perceive, moving through a symphony of small things. Sometimes, when your cat pauses suddenly, ears tilted, pupils wide, it's listening to that other world. You might think it's staring at nothing, but to the cat something is speaking. A mouse beneath the soil, a vibration from a wire, perhaps even your own pulse echoing softly in the room. It's humbling, really, that such an ordinary creature hears the extraordinary every day. For them, silence is never empty. It's full of life, layered in tones we'll never know. And when they close their eyes and rest their head against your arm, perhaps that world grows quieter for them, too. The loudest sound left being your heartbeat, slow and steady, matching the calm they've learned to master so well. When a cat lifts its nose and pauses, whiskers still and eyes half closed, it isn't just sniffing the air, it's reading it. Every gust of wind, every trace of warmth carries messages that only it can interpret. Where we might sense nothing, a cat perceives a map. Who has passed, where they came from, what they felt, what changed. Their sense of smell is about 14 times stronger than ours, a world layered in invisible detail that we can only imagine. Inside a cat's nose lie roughly 200 million scent receptors compared to the mere 5 million in a human's. Their olfactory bulb, the part of the brain that processes smell, is proportionally much larger too, finely tuned for decoding an endless variety of scents. To us, air is air. To them, it's a book written in fragrance. A single breeze might tell them which cat walked through the yard, what that cat ate, and whether it was afraid or calm. Smell is how cats build their sense of home. Every room in your house carries a specific scent signature, and your cat knows it intimately. They know the faint trace of you, your skin, your soap, your sleep, woven into the air. They know the smell of food before you've opened the can, and the difference between familiar guests and strangers the moment someone steps through the door. But scent isn't only about awareness, it's about communication. Cats leave invisible messages for one another through glands on their cheeks, paws, and tails. When they rub their face along furniture, they aren't just marking ownership. They're weaving themselves into their surroundings, layering comfort and identity into the fabric of their world. When they brush against your leg, they're mingling your scent with theirs, folding you gently into the circle of safety. Then there's something even more fascinating. The Jacobson's organ, also called the vomeronasal organ, located on the roof of a cat's mouth. When a cat lifts its head, opens its mouth slightly, and seems to grimace, it's performing what's known as the Flamen response. This allows it to pull scent molecules toward that organ, analyzing pheromones and other subtle chemicals we'll never detect. To us, it looks like a funny expression. To the cat, it's an ancient form of decoding, a way of seeing emotion and instinct through scent. In essence, cats live in a world painted with invisible color, a realm where every inch of air carries meaning. They don't just see what's in front of them, they smell what has been and what might be. Where we find silence, they find story. So when your cat pauses mid-step, nostrils flaring ever so slightly, it's not distracted, it's immersed in something we can't perceive. The room is full of memories, trails, and quiet truths carried on the air. And in that invisible garden of scent, your cat walks as if through a dream, guided not by sight, but by the soft, endless language of smell.
Before the ground begins to shake, before the walls creak or the glasses rattle, a cat will often know. It may pause mid-step, ears flicking. It may stare toward a window, tail twitching, or dart suddenly for shelter while everything still seems calm. And then, moments later, the world moves. For reasons science is still uncovering, cats can often detect earthquakes seconds before humans feel them, as if their bodies are tuned to the earth's faintest whisper before its shout. The secret lies in their sensitivity. Cats are creatures of vibration. Their whiskers can detect air shifts smaller than a millimeter. Their paw pads feel the tiniest tremors through the floor. Deep within their ears lie delicate organs that control balance, tiny crystals and hairs that respond to even the faintest motion. When seismic activity begins, it starts with P waves, fast, subtle vibrations that travel ahead of the stronger, destructive S waves. Humans rarely notice these early signals, but cats do. To them, the ground murmurs before it growls. Throughout history, people have reported uncanny feline behavior just before earthquakes. In Japan, where cats have long been regarded as spiritual protectors, there are records of them fleeing houses seconds before tremors struck. In Italy, cats were said to vanish into fields moments before the earth split. Even in modern times, videos show cats suddenly springing to alert, their bodies frozen, eyes wide, long before furniture begins to shake. It isn't superstition, it's biology, finely tuned to survival. To understand it, imagine living in a world where every surface speaks. A cat's feet are like stethoscopes pressed to the planet's pulse. The smallest vibration travels upward through bone and muscle, translated into awareness before thought. While we move through life cushioned by shoes and noise, cats remain in direct contact with the rhythm beneath us, the heartbeat of the earth itself. There's also a behavioral layer. Cats are cautious creatures, deeply attuned to patterns of safety. When something shifts, a vibration, an air current, an electromagnetic field, they feel it instantly, and instinct tells them to react. Their stillness, their sudden stares, their flight to safety, all are quiet acknowledgments of changes we cannot yet sense. Some researchers even speculate that cats may perceive low-frequency sound waves emitted by tectonic stress, giving them another dimension of awareness. Whether through vibration, pressure, or sound, what matters is the same. They know before we do. There's a strange comfort in that idea. Cats, who live among us in our calm domestic spaces, still carry the awareness of the wild, a sensitivity older than civilization. When the earth stirs, they listen. When the world trembles, they move. And when they curl beside you after, silent and steady, it's as if they've felt the storm and chosen peace again. So the next time your cat freezes, eyes fixed on something unseen, perhaps it's hearing the planet's faint sigh, the quiet murmur that warns of motion long before our senses catch up. When the day fades and the world softens into shadow, a cat's time begins. What looks dim and colorless to us becomes a world rich with texture and motion to them. In that quiet in-between, the hour of dusk or dawn, their eyes awaken. Cats can see in light 6 times fainter than what humans need to see clearly. Their vision is tuned to the half-light, to the edges of day, where the sun's last glow meets the dark. The secret lies in the architecture of their eyes. A cat's pupil can expand into a perfect black circle, gathering every bit of available light. Inside the retina, where humans have cells specialized for color, called cones, cats have far more rod cells, the ones that detect light and movement. These rods are incredibly sensitive, able to capture photons that would slip unnoticed past our vision. It's not magic, it's mathematics written in biology. Where we see dimness, they see possibility. And then there's the hidden mirror within their eyes, the tapetum lucidum, a thin reflective layer that sits behind the retina. When light enters the eye, it passes through the retina once,
reflects off that layer and passes through again, giving the photoreceptors a second chance to absorb it. This double exposure is what makes their eyes glow eerily in the dark. It's not superstition, it's reflection, light bouncing back from a biological mirror. But cats can't see in total darkness, as myths often claim. Even their remarkable eyes need some light to work with, a moonbeam, a street lamp, the glint of starlight on a surface. What they can do, though, is make more of less. To them, faint light stretches farther, lasts longer, becomes a world still alive when ours fades. Their color vision is different, too, muted compared to ours. They see fewer reds, but their sensitivity to blues and greens make twilight vivid, as if they were designed to live in that hour when the world exudes calm, when light is soft and the air carries a hush. In ancient times, people thought cats could see spirits because their eyes seemed to follow invisible things in the dark. In truth, they were simply perceiving motion and light that humans couldn't. Their pupils expand, their gaze sharpens, and they navigate spaces we'd stumble through blindly. To them, the world never truly goes dark. It only dims into a softer kind of clarity. There's something comforting in that. Cats walk easily through the shadows that confuse us, seeing patterns in the half-light that we overlook. They are creatures made for thresholds, between light and darkness, movement and stillness, seen and unseen. So the next time your cat's eyes glint softly in a dim room, know that they are not staring into nothing. They are watching the world still alive in shades of gray and silver, a world that, to them, never stops glowing.
If you've ever looked into a cat's eyes and watched the pupils change, you've seen one of nature's quiet miracles. In bright daylight, their pupils shrink into thin vertical slits, sharp lines of control, narrow as a whisper. But as the light fades, those same pupils open like doors into another world. They widen until nearly the entire eye turns black, drinking in the dimness, capturing what the night hides. No other domestic animal can match this range. Cats possess the most powerful pupil expansion in the household kingdom, a mastery of light and shadow, evolved for the art of night hunting. The reason lies in balance. Light is both a gift and a threat to sight. Too much, and the sensitive cells of the retina can be overwhelmed. Too little, and vision fades into emptiness. Cats' eyes evolved to manage both extremes. The vertical slit allows exquisite precision. It can close tighter than a round pupil, regulating light with surgical accuracy. But at dusk, when the sun slips beneath the horizon and the world turns blue, those pupils open wide, gathering what's left. In that moment, the cat's eyes become like two living lenses, perfectly tuned to twilight. This ability comes from specialized muscles that shape the pupil like an adjustable aperture. Their response is rapid. A flicker of light, a change in focus, and the eyes shift instantly. In darkness, they can open nearly 3 times wider than a human's, letting in 6 times more light. Combined with their reflective tapetum lucidum,
that mirror-like layer behind the retina. It allows them to see motion in near darkness that we'd never detect. In the wild, this means survival. A cat can stalk its prey by the faint shimmer of moonlight or the silver outline of a moving tail. Every expansion and contraction of the pupil refines that vision, controlling not just brightness, but depth, focus, and detail. Their world is a moving painting of subtle contrasts, brushed in gradients of shadow. Yet there's something more than biology at work, something almost aesthetic. Cats don't just use light, they play with it. When you see their pupils shift in a sunbeam, it feels like watching an artist at work, blending perception with instinct. They read the language of illumination in a way we've forgotten, knowing exactly how much to take in and when to close it off. People once believed cats held the night inside their eyes, that their pupils expanded to swallow darkness itself. In truth, they simply mastered adaptation. The gift of seeing in two worlds, bright and dim, without ever blinking at the change. So when your cat gazes at you, pupils wide and glittering, remember that you're looking into a small piece of night itself, an ancient hunter's tool still alive in your living room, balancing between sun and shadow with effortless grace. Watch a cat move across a narrow ledge, a fence, a railing, the back of a couch, and you'll see an effortless kind of grace that looks almost rehearsed. The paws step lightly, each one finding its place without hesitation. The body glides, the shoulders roll, and behind it all, the tail flows in perfect countermotion, steady and deliberate. It's not decoration. It's the secret to their balance, a living stabilizer, as precise as a tightrope walker's pole, helping them defy the laws of gravity with quiet confidence. A cat's tail is a marvel of engineering. It's built from 20 to 23 small vertebrae, each connected by flexible joints and wrapped in layers of muscle, tendon, and nerve. This structure allows it to bend, twist, and flick with incredible control. When a cat walks along a narrow surface, the tail shifts opposite to the body's movement, a built-in gyroscope. If the cat leans too far to one side, the tail swings the other way, redistributing weight and restoring balance before the fall even begins. The same principle works in the air. When a cat jumps or slips, its tail acts as a counterweight, helping rotate the body mid-fall so that its feet come down first, the famous righting reflex. No calculation, no hesitation, just instinct, guided by physics and thousands of years of evolution. Even tiny kittens practice it in play, tumbling and twisting until their tails learn the subtle art of equilibrium. But the tail does more than keep cats upright. It's also their emotional compass. Every flick and curve carries meaning. A gently swaying tail means curiosity. A high, upright tail with a soft tip signals affection and confidence. A puffed-up tail warns fear or surprise. The same organ that steadies them on a beam also communicates how they feel, expressing in movement what language never could. You can see the tail's intelligence when a cat is hunting. As it crouches, every muscle goes still, except the very tip, twitching in micro-movements. Those slight adjustments help maintain balance while keeping the rest of the body poised for precision. Its control is so fine that it borders on artistry. Physically, a cat's tail might seem simple, an extension of the spine, but it's also an extension of awareness. It reacts to balance, emotion, and environment all at once, moving in harmony with thought and instinct. It's part of why cats appear so impossibly fluid. The tail finishes every gesture, smoothing the edges of motion like punctuation at the end of a sentence. There's something soothing in watching it, that unhurried sway, that natural rhythm. It reminds us that balance isn't always about stillness. Sometimes it's about motion, quiet and continual, adjusting moment by moment. So when your cat walks along the edge of the couch, tail drifting behind like a silk ribbon in the air, you're watching the essence of equilibrium, a living reminder that grace is often just balance, carried beautifully. If you drop a cat, not from danger, but in a safe experiment or an accidental slip, something extraordinary happens in the air. Before you can even blink, it twists, turns, and somehow lands gracefully on its feet. It's called the righting reflex, one of nature's most elegant survival systems, and it's so fast, so precise, that it borders on the miraculous. The process begins the moment the cat realizes it's falling. Deep inside its inner ear, tiny fluid-filled canals detect a change in orientation. The brain responds instantly. No panic, no hesitation, just pure instinct. The cat's head rotates first, aligning itself with the ground. Then, in a seamless chain reaction, the spine follows. Cats possess an unusually flexible backbone, made of 30 vertebrae that allow the front and back halves of the body to twist independently. Unlike humans, cats have no collarbone, which gives their shoulders remarkable freedom to move and adjust mid-air. As the body turns, physics takes over. The cat tucks its front legs in and extends its back legs out, rotating its torso in one direction while counter-rotating the lower half the other way. It's the same principle a gymnast uses in mid-flip, redistributing momentum to control rotation without needing anything to push against. Once its feet are positioned beneath it, the cat spreads its legs slightly and arches its back to absorb the impact, landing softly, knees bent, tail steadying the motion. The entire sequence takes less than half a second. Even more astonishing, kittens learn this instinct early, usually by the time they're 6 to 7 weeks old. It doesn't need teaching, it's written into their biology. Researchers have filmed kittens falling in slow motion, revealing that even their first attempts are beautifully coordinated, as if they already trust gravity to give them one chance to show what evolution has prepared them for. Of course, this doesn't make cats invincible. They can still be injured if the height is too low for the reflex to complete, or too high for the impact to dissipate. But within the right range, usually a few feet to several stories, the reflex drastically increases their chances of landing safely. There's a kind of metaphor in it, too. The cat's mid-air twist isn't frantic, it's composed. Even in free fall, it finds control, turning chaos into grace through instinct and trust in motion. That's why watching a cat recover from a slip feels oddly reassuring, a small reminder that balance isn't about never falling. It's about how calmly you turn toward the ground. So when you see your cat leap from a high shelf or misjudge a jump, and it lands with effortless poise, remember, you're witnessing one of evolution's most graceful tricks. A creature designed not to defy gravity, but to dance with it, even as it falls. A cat's paws are soft enough to make no sound, light enough to barely press the ground, and yet they can tell stories. Hidden within those velvet pads are tiny sweat glands, almost invisible, that come alive in moments of heat or stress. When a cat grows nervous during a vet visit, a thunderstorm, or a tense encounter, those glands release tiny droplets of moisture. The result is a secret most people never see. Invisible paw prints left behind on tile or glass, proof that even quiet creatures feel anxiety in their own way. Cats don't sweat across their bodies like humans do. Their fur makes that impossible. Instead, their cooling system is highly selective, centered in their paw pads, nose, and sometimes around the lips and chin. When the temperature rises or tension builds, those small sweat glands activate, helping regulate their body and calm their system. You can sometimes glimpse it after a stressful moment. Faint, damp paw marks fading slowly on the examination table at the vet. To us, it's almost nothing. To them, it's the body's whisper of unease. The process is remarkably similar to how we respond under pressure. When humans get anxious, blood flow shifts, the heart races, and sweat forms on our palms, not to cool us down, but as part of the body's instinctive fight or flight reaction. Cats do the same, though their version is subtle, silent, nearly invisible. Their paws moisten slightly, helping improve grip and focus, small biological preparations in case they need to flee or fight. In calmer times, those same sweat glands help maintain comfort during heat. You might notice your cat stretching out on cool floors during summer, or licking its paws to create evaporative cooling, a delicate balance of instinct and physiology. But during nervous moments, the paw pads tell another story, emotion translated into the language of touch. Veterinarians often recognize the signs instantly. A nervous cat might stand still, but leave behind a perfect pattern of moist prints, glimmering faintly under the light. They fade quickly, like anxiety itself, passing once the danger is gone. When the moment ends, the paws dry, the tail softens, the heartbeat slows, and calm returns, as if nothing happened. There's something beautifully human in that, too. The idea that fear and calm coexist in all living things. Cats, who seem so composed, so deliberate, still carry small traces of feeling in their steps. The difference is that their worries evaporate quietly, leaving no mark once the moment has passed. So the next time your cat paces softly across a smooth floor, imagine the unseen trail beneath those paws, a delicate pattern written in warmth and emotion. It's a reminder that even the most graceful beings have their moments of unease. Yet just as quickly as the prints appear, they fade, replaced by stillness, by rest, by peace returning to the body, one silent step at a time. If you've ever caught your cat staring at you from across the room, eyes half closed, and then watched as it slowly blinks, not once, but twice, you've just been told something extraordinary. In that quiet, unspoken gesture, your cat has said, "I trust you." To a cat, the slow blink is one of the purest expressions of affection, a soft signal of peace and safety, the feline equivalent of saying, "I love you," without ever making a sound. In the wild, Eye contact is serious business. Among animals, an unbroken stare can mean challenge or threat. Closing one's eyes, even for a moment, is vulnerability, a tiny surrender that says, I don't need to watch you. I know I'm safe. Cats, for all their independence and caution, have learned to share this small act of trust with the humans they bond with. When they blink slowly, they're showing that you belong to their circle of calm. Researchers have studied this simple behavior and found something remarkable. When humans mimic the slow blink, meeting a cat's gaze softly and then closing their eyes and opening them again, cats are far more likely to approach, rub against them, or climb into their lap. It's a universal language built not on sound but rhythm. The slow blink synchronizes body and emotion, much like deep breathing between friends who are at ease together. It's the heartbeat of trust made visible. What makes it even more touching is its subtlety. Cats don't use the slow blink to demand attention or ask for food. They use it when words, even meows, aren't needed. It's a way of existing peacefully beside another creature, acknowledging presence with warmth rather than urgency. When your cat blinks at you this way, it's saying, you make me feel safe enough to rest. You can return the message easily. Find your cat's eyes, soften your gaze, and blink, slowly, gently, like a sigh. You'll often see the response almost immediately, a relaxed blink in return, perhaps followed by a yawn or a slow turn of the head. In that moment, two species are speaking a shared emotional language older than speech, one that says, you are not a threat, you are family. It's no wonder so many cat owners describe the slow blink as their favorite part of the bond. It's intimate without touch, quiet without distance, proof that love doesn't always need sound to be real. So the next time your cat looks at you with those soft, drowsy eyes and blinks once, don't look away, blink back. You've just joined a conversation that began thousands of years ago, carried through time not by words, but by trust. A silent promise exchanged between two hearts perfectly at peace.
When a cat meows at you, soft or sharp, long or brief, it's easy to think it's just making noise. But that sound, that familiar syllable of feline speech, holds something quietly remarkable. Cats don't meow at each other, not once they're grown. The meow is, in fact, a language they invented for us. In the wild, adult cats live largely in silence. They communicate through scent, posture, and subtle sounds, a hiss, a trill, a rumble. Kittens meow to their mothers, crying when they're hungry or cold. But once they're weaned and independent, the meowing stops. Silence becomes the language of adulthood. Only among humans did cats begin to rediscover their voice and keep it. When cats were first domesticated thousands of years ago, they learned that humans responded to sound. We cooed at their chirps, we fed them when they cried, we looked their way when they spoke. Gradually, generation after generation, cats shaped their communication around what we could understand. The meow became a bridge, a sound finely tuned to human attention. In a way, they taught themselves our emotional vocabulary. Each cat's meow is unique, like a fingerprint of sound. Some are high and pleading, others low and conversational.
Cats adjust the pitch and rhythm of their meows depending on what they want. A short chirp might mean hello. A long, rising tone could mean I'm hungry. And a soft trill might say, follow me. Researchers have even found that cats living closely with people developed specialized dialect unique to their household. What you hear as an ordinary sound is actually a custom-made sentence designed for you. Between cats, though, this sound almost disappears. Two adults meeting will rarely exchange meows. They'll use body language, ears, tails, pupils, of silent ballet of expression that we barely notice. Meowing, then, is something sacred between cats and humans, a private code created not by biology, but by relationship. It's strange to think that your cat talks to you in a way it never would to another of its kind. But that's what makes the bond so special. Somewhere along the path of history, a quiet, solitary hunter learned to speak softly for companionship, not because it had to, but because it wanted to be understood. The next time your cat meows from across the room, try listening not as a command, but as a conversation. You might hear a question, a greeting, or simply acknowledgement. You're here, and I see you. For a creature that lives so much in silence, that small sound is an act of intimacy. So when your cat lifts its head and meows just for you, know that you're hearing something ancient and tender, a language shaped over centuries of trust, spoken only between those who have learned to share quiet together. When your cat meows, especially that pleading, soft call that makes you look up instantly, it's not a random sound. It's evolution, perfectly tuned. Scientists studying feline communication discovered something extraordinary. The pitch of a cat's meow falls within the same frequency range as a human baby's cry. That similarity isn't a coincidence. Over thousands of years, cats learned that this particular sound cuts straight through the noise of our lives, straight into our instincts to nurture, protect, and respond. Human ears are wired to notice distress in infants. A baby's cry sits between 300 and 600 hertz, a range that triggers our brains to release alertness and empathy. Cats, though, never consciously aware of that, evolved to use it. The result is a sound almost impossible for us to ignore. You might be half asleep or deep in thought, but when your cat lets out that specific tone, that urgent, rising meow, you turn your head every time. In nature, adult cats rarely meow at each other. The meow was originally a kitten's sound, a call for its mother's attention. But domesticated cats, observing how humans responded to vocal signals, kept that kitten language alive into adulthood, and then they refined it. Over generations, cats began to shape their meows, length, tone, and pitch to better fit the ears and emotions of humans. There's even a version scientists call the solicitation purr. It's a blend of a purr and a high-pitched cry woven subtly inside it, a vibration meant to soothe while also requesting. Owners often describe it as impossible to resist, a sound that feels affectionate but slightly urgent, gentle yet insistent. It's a sound designed not to startle us, but to move us. Evolution by emotion. It's humbling, really, to realize how closely our lives have intertwined. Cats didn't become human-like, they became human-aware. They learned that our hearts respond to tenderness, not just survival. They discovered that compassion could be activated with tone, the same way a baby's cry opens every protective instinct we have. So when your cat meows at the door, or at dawn, or beside an empty bowl, it's not manipulation, it's connection. It's using the one bridge we share, sound that awakens care. In a quiet way, cats have learned to speak the emotional language of another species, to live alongside us, not through domination or obedience, but through empathy and sound. And if you've ever answered that meow, if you've risen from bed or smiled at that familiar voice, you've fulfilled your part of the ancient contract. It's not just a cat calling and a person responding. It's two species that learn to understand each other's hearts without needing words at all. So the next time your cat meows in that soft, pleading tone, know that you're not just hearing a noise, you're hearing evolution sing, a melody written for human ears, tuned to the frequency of love itself. If you've ever watched your cat sitting by the window, eyes locked on a bird outside, you may have heard it, a quick staccato sound, almost like a chirp or chatter. It's strange, even funny at first. The mouth quivers, the jaw trembles, and the cat makes a noise that sounds uncannily like the very birds it's watching. Scientists call it chattering, an instinctive mix of excitement, frustration, and, perhaps, mimicry. Beneath that soft, fluttering sound lies one of the oldest instincts a cat possesses. For a long time, people assumed cats chattered simply out of anticipation, the sound of a hunter held back by a pane of glass, imagining the catch it can't reach. But research into wild cats has revealed something more fascinating. In the South American rainforest, a species called the margay was recorded mimicking the chirps of baby monkeys to lure adults within striking distance. Other wild felines like ocelots and servals have shown similar behavior, producing sounds that imitate their prey. It's a form of acoustic mimicry, a kind of vocal camouflage that turns patience into a weapon. Domestic cats may be echoing a shadow of that ancient strategy. When your cat chirps at a sparrow or a moth, it may be replaying that primal script written deep in its DNA. The rhythm and pitch of its chatter often resemble the calls of small birds. To the cat, the sound might be part instinct, part practice, a reflex from a time when every vibration of the throat could mean survival. There's also emotion in it. Some behaviorists think the chatter carries tension, the body's energy trembling through sound when the mind says hunt, but the moment says wait. You can see it in the stillness of their body, the twitch of the tail, the wide pupils. It's a symphony of restraint, the predator in pause, the jungle remembered through glass. Yet what makes it endearing is how quietly wild it is. Inside every domestic cat, the one who naps on your couch or purrs against your arm, lives a creature finely tuned to the movements of wings and wind. The chirp is a whisper from that deeper self, a reminder that under all the softness lies precision and instinct. It's humbling to think that what we find cute, That little chatter at the window might be a sound that once belonged to the deep forests where cats hunted under starlight and leaves. Even now, in homes filled with warmth and safety, they still carry the music of the hunt in their throats. So the next time your cat sits by the window, eyes bright and mouth trembling with those strange tiny chirps, don't laugh it off as curiosity alone. You're hearing something ancient, the echo of the wild, still alive in the quietest corners of your home. When a cat walks toward you, lifts its head, and gently presses its cheek against your hand, it's doing something deeper than asking for attention. Beneath that soft fur lie tiny scent glands, and with that slow, affectionate rub, your cat is leaving behind a part of itself, a whisper of identity, a mark of belonging. In the silent language of felines, this is how they say, "You're mine, and I'm safe with you." Cats have specialized scent glands on their cheeks, forehead, lips, and the base of their tail. These glands release pheromones, chemical signals that carry information invisible to us but deeply meaningful to them. When a cat rubs its face along furniture, door frames, or people, it's layering its personal scent over the world it trusts. That scent acts like an invisible thread connecting its safe places and favorite beings. It's less about ownership and more about reassurance, creating a home defined not by walls, but by familiarity. To a cat, scent is memory. It's how they map their environment, remember comfort, and recognize what's safe. When they rub their face against your leg, your arm, or even your head, they're mingling their scent with yours, blending your identities into one shared territory. In their minds, that makes you part of their group, a member of their chosen family. This ritual is called bunting, and it's one of the gentlest gestures in the animal world. It's affectionate, deliberate, and intimate. Cats don't bunt those they don't trust. In the wild, such contact would only occur between bonded companions, siblings, mothers, or mates. So when your cat presses its face to you, it's offering the same quiet affection reserved for the beings it considers closest to its heart. The pheromones themselves have a calming effect, even for other cats. That's why synthetic versions of these scents are used in veterinary clinics and shelters to help anxious cats feel safe. To them, the smell of these cheek pheromones means peace. It's the scent of home, of calm bodies, and familiar hearts. You might notice how a cat will rub its cheeks along your hand, then turn its head so the forehead touches next, a small, graceful ritual of greeting. In that motion, the cat both gives and gathers scent, exchanging comfort in silence. It's their version of a hug, done through chemistry and trust, rather than arms. It's easy to miss how much love lives in such small gestures. No purring, no meowing, no dramatic display. Just a gentle touch, a quiet mark that says, "You belong with me." Cats speak in whispers, and scent is one of their oldest, softest words. So the next time your cat brushes its face against yours, pause for a moment. You've just been claimed, not in ownership, but in affection. It's your cat's way of saying, "You're part of my world now, and my world is safe because you're in it." When a cat rolls over onto its back, paws in the air, and reveals that soft, unguarded belly, it feels like a gift. It's hard not to reach out. That fur looks impossibly warm and inviting. But in the world of cats, this gesture doesn't always mean, "Please pet me." It means something quieter and far more meaningful. "I trust you."
A cat's belly is its most vulnerable place. Beneath that downy fur lie vital organs, the heart, liver, lungs, all protected by instinct and caution. In the wild, no cat would expose this area unless it felt completely safe. So when your cat stretches out on its back in your presence, what it's showing isn't a desire for touch, but a declaration of comfort. It's saying, "I don't think you'll hurt me. I can rest here, even defenseless." This posture is sometimes misunderstood. People see a cat's belly and assume it's an open invitation for affection, only to be met with claws or a startled swat. But that quick reaction isn't anger, it's reflex. The stomach area is lined with hypersensitive nerves, tweened to respond instantly to protect from harm. Even the lightest touch can feel startling or overstimulating. For most cats, exposing the belly is an emotional gesture, not a physical one. In truth, this behavior is closer to trust than to play. When a cat shows its belly, it's expressing a state of pure peace, a rare moment when its body relaxes entirely. You might see it on a sunny floor in a patch of warmth, or beside you on the couch when the house feels still. In that posture, the cat is both aware and calm, existing in a moment of deep safety. Some cats will, over time, allow gentle touches there, usually from people they know intimately. But even then, the best approach is respect. Let the cat invite the contact first. The real connection isn't in the touch, but in understanding the meaning behind the gesture. Behaviorists often describe the exposed belly as the feline equivalent of a smile, a signal of ease, not a request. It's their way of saying, this space, this moment, and you, they're all safe. It's a vulnerability that asks nothing in return but quiet appreciation. There's something deeply human about that. We too sometimes show trust not by reaching out, but by relaxing, by being unguarded in another's presence. Cats simply remind us how beautiful that can look when done without words. So the next time your cat rolls onto its back, paws in the air and eyes half closed, resist the urge to reach. Just smile softly and know that in its own quiet language, your cat has just given you one of the greatest compliments it can. Peace made visible. There's a special rhythm to a cat's happiness. Soft paws pressing in and out against a blanket, your lap, or a pillow. This gentle motion, often called kneading, looks almost like baking bread, but it's much older than that. A behavior carried from the very first days of a cat's life, when warmth and love were still measured in heartbeats and milk. When kittens nurse, they instinctively press their tiny paws against their mother's belly. This rhythmic movement helps stimulate milk flow, ensuring they're fed and comforted. But the act is more than physical, it's emotional. The motion, the warmth, and the closeness to their mother become linked to safety and contentment. Even after they grow up and no longer nurse, that memory lingers deep in their instincts. So when an adult cat needs, it's reaching back through time, performing a motion that once meant everything good in the world. It's a reflex born of love, trust, and calm. You'll often see it when a cat is about to curl up to sleep, purring softly as its paws press in steady rhythm. Its comfort was made visible, an echo of kittenhood resurfacing in moments of peace. Scientists call this neotenic behavior, the retention of juvenile traits into adulthood. Many domesticated animals show it, but in cats it carries a special tenderness.
When they need on your lap or blanket, they're recreating the feeling of safety they once knew beside their mother. In their mind, your warmth and scent have become part of that same memory. Every cat's kneading is unique. Some press deeply with extended claws, others barely graze the surface. Some purr loudly while doing it, eyes half closed, as if drifting into a trance. It's not about purpose, it's about feeling. The motion releases endorphins, relaxing their muscles and easing their minds. For them, kneading is self-soothing, like humming softly to oneself in contentment. There's even a touch of communication in it. When a cat needs you, it's often a gesture of affection, a way of saying, "I feel safe with you." Some leave faint traces of scent from glands in their paws, marking you gently as part of their comfort zone. Others knead before settling into sleep, arranging their space with invisible signals of peace. What's beautiful is how pure it is, a habit with no agenda, parried through years simply because it feels good. It's proof that even in the grown-up calm of a cat's life, some part of the kitten remains, the one that knew love through warmth, touch, and rhythm. So the next time your cat needs your lap, paws moving like tiny waves, just smile and stay still. In that moment, you're not just sitting with an animal, you're part of its oldest memory of comfort, replayed softly in the language of trust. Watch a cat sleeping, and you'll see peace made physical. The slow rise and fall of breath, the soft rhythm of purring, the stillness that fills a room like a lullaby. But then, if you look closer, you might notice something. A whisker trembles, a paw twitches, the tail flicks just once. For a moment, it looks as if the cat is moving through some unseen world, and in a way, it is. Those small movements are the marks of dreaming, glimpses of a story unfolding behind closed eyes. Like humans, cats experience different stages of sleep, and one of them is REM sleep, or rapid eye movement. It's the phase when the brain becomes most active, when memory, emotion, and imagination intertwine. In this stage, a cat's body relaxes completely, but its mind sparks to life, replaying fragments of the day. Scientists studying sleeping cats have recorded brainwaves nearly identical to those of dreaming humans. Their paws may twitch as if running, their whiskers may quiver as if sniffing, their tails might flick as if chasing shadows. No one can know for certain what a cat dreams of, but the clues are tender and familiar. Perhaps they dream of stalking the flutter of a bird outside the window, or the warmth of a sunny patch on the floor. Maybe they relive the comfort of kneading, the scent of a favorite blanket, or the sound of your voice. Their small twitches, those dream movements, are echoes of those imagined moments, the mind's way of remembering and reliving what it loves or longs for. Even kittens dream, their tiny paws jerking in sleep as their brains grow and organize the flood of new experiences. For them, REM sleep is vital. It helps shape memory and strengthen learning. Through dreaming, they practice the world before waking fully into it. For adult cats, the process may be gentler, more reflective. Dreaming allows their minds to settle the day's sensations, to balance the alertness of their waking life with rest. Cats spend nearly 2/3 of their lives sleeping, but their sleep isn't idle. Inside that stillness, their thoughts are quietly stretching, chasing, remembering, and resting, all at once. There is a kind of poetry in it. A creature so self-contained, so mysterious, still dreams, still revisits moments of joy and instinct. Even asleep, it remains both hunter and philosopher, body at rest, but spirit in motion. So, when you see your cat asleep, paws twitching lightly, whiskers trembling as if chasing something only it can see, know that it's traveling softly, safely, through its own inner world. The house is silent, but inside that small, sleeping form is a flicker of life still playing, still feeling, still dreaming. And perhaps that's what makes cats so comforting to watch. Even in sleep, they remind us that peace isn't the absence of motion. It's the quiet intinuation of life, playing gently below the surface of rest.
Say your cat's name aloud, softly, kindly. You'll notice a flick of the ear, a brief pause, maybe even a slow turn of the head. Or maybe nothing at all. Don't take it personally. Your cat heard you. It simply decided whether to answer. For a long time, people assumed cats ignored us out of indifference. But science paints a gentler, more fascinating picture. In studies where researchers played recordings of various voices saying random words, cats showed no reaction until their own name was spoken. Then their ears twitched, their eyes shifted, or their tail flicked slightly. They knew. The sound pattern was familiar, associated with tone, rhythm, and experience. They recognized it not as just a word, but as the sound of belonging. Yet recognition isn't the same as compliance. Unlike dogs, who were bred for cooperation and response, cats evolved alongside humans as independent allies. They never relied on commands or hierarchy. Their relationship with us has always been one of mutual benefit, companionship by choice, not submission. So when a cat hears its name, it evaluates the context. Is there food involved? Affection? Safety? Or is it just noise interrupting a nap? This isn't stubbornness, it's discernment. In the feline world, every movement has purpose. To conserve energy is wisdom, not defiance. So when a cat seems to ignore you, it's not failing to understand, it's simply choosing silence. And in that quiet choice lies something almost profound, the reminder that attention, freely given, means more than obedience demanded. Some behaviorists even suggest that cats respond differently depending on who says their name. They pick up on tone, emotional energy, and pattern. The sound of a familiar voice can draw them in. A rushed or frustrated one might make them retreat. In their own way, they're listening to the music of the moment, not just the meaning of the word. And sometimes their lack of response is its own kind of reply, a cat's version of, "I trust you enough not to need to react." In a world where so many creatures live by constant alertness, the ability to ignore safely is a luxury born of comfort. When your cat does answer with a soft meow, a blink, or a quiet approach, it's a small miracle of connection. It means that in that moment, your presence mattered enough to draw them in, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. So the next time you call your cat's name and get no response, don't think of it as being ignored. Think of it as a shared understanding, two beings coexisting peacefully, respecting each other's space, yet bound by a sound that means something only between you. After all, love from a cat isn't about obedience. It's about quiet recognition, the turning of an ear, the flicker of a whisker, the trust of choosing to stay, even when they don't answer. If you live with more than one cat, or even just one, you've probably noticed it. Their voice changes depending on who they're talking to. The sound they make when they greet you in the morning isn't quite the same as the one they use when asking for food, or the one that greets another family member. To us, it might seem like random noise, but to a cat, it's language, a carefully tuned melody designed for each listener. Cats are incredibly adaptive communicators. They don't have a single universal meow. Instead, they develop different vocal patterns through interaction. Over time, they learn which sounds make their humans respond. A high-pitched trill might get attention. A drawn-out meow might earn food. A soft chirp might open the door to affection. In a way, every cat-human pair builds their own private language, sculpted through daily life and emotional exchange. Scientists studying cat vocalizations have found that cats modify not only what they say, but how they say it. The tone, duration, and even rhythm of their meows can shift depending on the person they're addressing. Some cats use a gentle rising tone for one person and a lower grumbling sound for another, tailoring their voice the way we unconsciously adjust ours for children, friends, or loved ones. It's a subtle but remarkable skill, one that reveals how emotionally attuned cats are. They don't speak our words, but they read us perfectly. Our tone, our movement, our habits. They notice who responds to what and then shape their sounds accordingly. Over months and years, they learn from you. Your timing, your softness, your thresholds of attention. What seems like instinct is really intimacy, a language built slowly through shared living. In many ways, this isn't cats imitating humans, it's collaboration. You change your tone for them, too. You use a lighter voice when you call them, or a gentler tone when you soothe them. The two of you meet in the middle, forming a soundscape that belongs only to your home. Researchers sometimes call this vocal accommodation, but it feels more like quiet companionship. The cat's voice becomes an echo of your relationship, the sound of coexistence. Some cats grow almost musical with certain people, purring mid-meow, combining tones in ways they never use elsewhere. It's as if their voice becomes a reflection of trust, shaped by response, comfort, and time. So when your cat meows at you in that familiar, personal way, not the generic food call, not the stranger's greeting, but the one that feels meant only for you, listen closely. It's not manipulation, it's communication. It's your cat saying, "I know your rhythm, and I've found a way to speak within it." It's proof that love doesn't always need translation. Sometimes it just learns how to sound like home. Few creatures understand the art of rest as completely as cats do.
They can fall asleep anywhere, a sunbeam, a windowsill, a crumpled sweater, and do it with a kind of grace that feels both ancient and wise. On average, a cat sleeps 12 to 16 hours every day, sometimes more. The record? Around 20 hours, nearly an entire day spent in the quiet world of dreams. It's one of the longest sleep cycles in the animal kingdom, rivaling that of lions and tigers, their wild cousins. But cat sleep isn't the heavy, unmoving kind we associate with deep rest. It comes in layers, short naps, light dozes, and brief dreams stitched together into a tapestry of peace. Most of the time, cats hover in light sleep, where their ears still twitch at the faintest sound, and their whiskers quiver at the shift of air. Even at rest, their body remains half alert, a reflex left over from their hunting ancestors, who needed to nap without losing awareness of danger. Their deepest sleep, the kind that they dream, paws twitching softly, makes up only a small portion of the day, but it's crucial. During those quiet stretches, the cat's body repairs muscle tissue, consolidates memory, and releases growth hormones. For kittens, this stage fuels rapid development. For adults, it's maintenance, a silent restoration that keeps their bodies nimble and their minds calm. Why so much sleep? It comes down to energy design. Cats are crepuscular, meaning they're most active at dawn and dusk. In the wild, those are prime hunting hours. Between hunts, conserving energy is survival. Even though domestic cats no longer rely on catching their food, that rhythm remains. Bursts of play and curiosity followed by long, luxurious naps. To humans, their endless sleep might seem indulgent, but to a cat, it's simply balance. The world doesn't need constant motion. It needs harmony between motion and stillness. Cats embody that truth effortlessly, stretching into comfort the way we might chase productivity. They remind us that rest isn't something to earn, it's something to honor. There's also emotion in a cat's sleep. Cats only sleep deeply where they feel safe. A cat napping near you, belly exposed or paws tucked close, is expressing absolute trust. In that stillness, they let their guard down completely, believing in the peace of the moment. When you see your cat curled in a patch of afternoon light, eyes closed, tail wrapped neatly around its body, you're witnessing one of nature's purest states of contentment. To sleep so long and so deeply isn't laziness, it's confidence. It's the body and soul perfectly at ease in their surroundings. So the next time your cat drifts off beside you, don't wake it. Watch for the twitch of a paw, the flutter of whiskers, tiny signs of dreams in motion. Because in that quiet, endless sleep, your cat isn't just resting. It's living in harmony with something we often forget. That peace, too, is a way of being alive. If you've ever wondered why your cat always finds the warmest place in the house, that one perfect patch of sunlight, the freshly folded laundry, the spot where your laptop just powered down, it isn't a coincidence. It's instinct. A cat's body runs hot, around 38 degrees Celsius, and it feels most at peace when the world around it matches that temperature. To them, warmth isn't luxury, it's alignment. Unlike humans, cats aren't efficient at holding body heat. Their small size, lean muscle, and low body fat mean they lose warmth quickly when resting. So they've evolved a deep, almost poetic attraction to heat. when they curl into a sunbeam, press against your legs, or stretch across a radiator, they're seeking balance, the outer world meeting the warmth of their own heartbeat. Their wild ancestors came from desert regions where days were hot and nights could turn cold. Over generations, this shaped their biology. Even now, house cats retain that ancient desert rhythm, thriving in warmth, slowing down in chill. The sunlight they chase across the floor isn't just comfort, it's memory written into their fur. When a cat finds the right spot, it enters a kind of quiet bliss. Muscles loosen, paws twitch faintly, and their breathing settles into an even rhythm. Warmth soothes them from the inside out, aiding digestion, improving blood flow, and helping their joints stay supple. It's also why older cats gravitate toward heat even more. It eases stiffness and brings a deep, instinctive calm. That's why your cat might abandon the softest cushion in the room for the corner where sunlight falls, or why it curls beside you at night, drawn not just to affection, but to your body heat. To them, you're a living hearth, a steady, familiar source of warmth and peace. There's a quiet beauty in watching it. A cat in warmth looks utterly complete. Eyes half closed, whiskers still, the faint hum of contentment surrounding them. In that moment, everything is enough. The air, the heat, the stillness. It's life at perfect temperature. We often chase comfort through movement, seeking it in noise and novelty. Cats remind us it can also be found in stillness, in the gentle art of matching the world to what the body needs. When they bask in a sunbeam, they aren't escaping, they're synchronizing, letting the day's warmth tune their inner rhythm back to peace. So the next time your cat sprawls across your keyboard or steals your warm spot on the couch, try to see it the way they do. They're not being mischievous. They're following an ancient wisdom that life feels safest when warmth and heart beat in harmony. When a cat sleeps, the world seems to pause around it. The chest rises and falls in perfect rhythm. Whiskers barely stir, and for a while it feels like the body itself has turned to peace. Beneath that stillness, though, something extraordinary happens, a pattern almost identical to our deepest rest. Cats, like humans, experience what's called slow-wave sleep, a stage of slumber where the brain moves through waves of calm, the body repairs, and the world outside fades completely away. Slow-wave sleep, often called deep sleep, is the phase when consciousness drifts furthest from waking life. In both people and cats, brain activity slows to long, gentle pulses. The muscles loosen, the heart rate steadies, and breathing becomes smooth and steady. It's in this phase that healing occurs, tissues regenerate, energy stores refill, and the immune system strengthens quietly in the background. For cats, this kind of sleep comes in many small pieces. They don't have one long nighttime rest like humans. Instead, they slip in and out of sleep throughout the day, cycling between light naps and deeper slow-wave states. Each time they settle into that familiar curled position, tail tucked, paws hidden, eyes half shut, they might be entering the first steps of this deep, renewing stillness. You can tell when your cat drifts into slow-wave sleep by their posture. The body becomes heavy and still, the ears stop twitching, and the breath evens out completely. They're not dreaming yet. That happens later in the REM stage, but they're fully resting, immersed in the rhythm of their own heartbeat. It's a kind of peace that feels ancient, almost meditative, as if the body itself is humming softly from within. Scientists believe this stage of sleep is essential for both physical and emotional balance. For cats, it restores the muscles they use for climbing, jumping, and exploring. For humans, it clears the mind and repairs the day's small wear and tear. Though we live differently, they in cycles, we in stretches, our sleep speaks the same biological language, the language of renewal. It's easy to see why cats seem endlessly graceful, endlessly patient. They live in harmony with rest, slipping between wakefulness and stillness as naturally as breathing. In their sleep, they teach something we often forget, that rest isn't just a pause between moments of life. It is part of life itself. So when your cat curls beside you, eyes closing as yours begin to grow heavy, know that you're both entering the same current, a tide of slow waves and silence carrying the body back to balance. Two different species sharing one ancient rhythm. Sleep as sanctuary, peace as restoration.
If you've ever woken up and noticed your cat curled near your pillow, lying in the same direction as your head, you might have wondered why. It's not random. To a cat, sleeping beside your head, or even mirroring your position, is a quiet act of trust, companionship, and awareness. They're aligning their world with yours, quite literally, sleeping in your rhythm. Cats are instinctively cautious sleepers. In the wild, every nap could be interrupted by movement, sound, or scent. Even at home, those instincts remain. They choose sleeping spots carefully, not just for warmth, but for safety and familiarity. When your cat chooses to nap near your head, it's because it feels safest there. That's where your scent is strongest, where your breath and heartbeat create a steady, predictable pattern. For them, that rhythm is comfort, a lullaby made of trust. But there's another layer to it. Cats are sensitive to orientation and awareness. Facing the same direction as you allows them to monitor the same space you do. It's a subtle partnership. They rest, but still feel aligned with your perspective, as if guarding the world from the same angle. It's protection by companionship. They know where you know where they are, and the night feels balanced. There's also the simple warmth of it. The head releases more body heat than most parts of the body, and cats are creatures of warmth. Nestling near that gentle temperature, facing the same way, lets them share your comfort without needing to press too close. It's closeness with boundaries, the feline ideal. Some behaviorists describe this as mirroring, a behavior seen in social animals who feel bonded. By copying your resting position, your cat shows emotional synchronization, a kind of empathy in silence. They may not speak your language, but they align with your energy. The two of you breathe in the same direction, drift through the same quiet air. It's small, but deeply symbolic. For a species often described as independent, this mirrored sleeping pattern is a rare expression of belonging.
Your cat is not just beside you for warmth, it's sharing stillness, participating in your vulnerability. It's saying, I rest when you rest. I'm calm because you are. And maybe in a simple way, it's affection without performance. No loud purring, no playful gesture, just quiet company, head to head, both gazing toward the same invisible horizon. So the next time you wake in the night and find your cat lying parallel to you, tail curved gently, paws tucked close, remember what that really means. It's not coincidence or routine. It's trust turned into shape. Two beings sharing the same direction in sleep, watching over each other in silence. In the language of cats, that's as close to I feel safe with you as it gets. Watch a sleeping cat long enough and you'll notice something. They rarely stay in one position for very long. One moment they're curled into a perfect circle, tail wrapped neatly over their nose. The next, they are stretched across the couch, paws extended like rays of light. It's not restless, it's regulation. Cats adjust their sleeping posture like living thermostats, small, instinctive movements that keep their bodies in perfect thermal harmony. A cat's body runs naturally warm, around 38 degrees Celsius, 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and that temperature needs gentle balance. When they curl tightly, they're conserving heat, trapping air between layers of fur and minimizing exposure. It's the feline version of pulling a blanket close. You'll see this most often in cooler rooms or on quiet winter mornings when warmth becomes a soft cocoon against the chill. But as the air warms or the sunbeam shifts, you'll notice the opposite. A cat will stretch out fully, exposing its belly or splaying its paws outward. This isn't laziness, it's ventilation. By expanding their posture, cats allow heat to dissipate from the less furred parts of their body, the stomach, the pads of the paws, the inner limbs. Each position is a conversation between instinct and temperature, silent, precise, and graceful. These habits trace back to their desert ancestors, who learned to survive between extremes of heat and cool. Even though house cats now live in comfort, their bodies still read the world through warmth. Every twitch and turn during sleep is a small act of self-care, adjusting to the environment without waking fully, staying in perfect equilibrium between comfort and alertness. Their fur plays a role too. It acts as both insulation and ventilation, depending on how the cat positions itself. Flattened fur releases heat. Fluffed fur traps it. A tiny shift of posture can change how air flows over their skin. What looks like a simple stretch is actually a carefully tuned system, evolution disguised as elegance. There's a kind of mindfulness in it. Cats don't overthink their comfort, they feel it. They notice the smallest drafts, the faintest warmth from sunlight or your body, and they move naturally toward balance. They live in constant dialogue with their surroundings, adjusting until everything feels just right. It's a quiet lesson, really, that peace isn't a fixed state, but a moving one. The cat doesn't chase comfort, it tunes to it, moment by moment, without guilt or hesitation. So the next time you see your cat roll from a tight ball into a long sprawl, or stretch one paw out toward the nearest patch of sunlight, Know that it's not random. It's harmony in motion, a living thermostat guided by instinct and grace, teaching us how to rest with awareness. Because for cats, comfort isn't luxury, it's balance, felt, adjusted, and perfected in silence.
There's something comforting about the weight of a cat at your feet. You feel it when you shift in the night, that gentle pressure, that silent companionship. Many people assume their cats sleep there simply because it's warm or spacious, but for some, it's something deeper. When a cat curls near your feet, often facing the doorway, it's not just resting, it's watching. In its quiet, feline way, it's keeping guard. Cats are naturally alert sleepers. Even in comfort, they keep part of their awareness tuned to sound and movement. In the wild, this vigilance kept them alive, allowing them to rest without ever being fully off duty. Today, in the safety of a home, those instincts remain, repurposed into something gentler, companionship with purpose. Sleeping near your feet, usually at the edge of the bed, gives them both proximity and perspective. From there, they can sense anyone entering the room while staying close enough to you to feel secure. It's a spot that balances warmth and duty. Your body heat drifts toward them, but they still have space to observe the environment. If you've noticed your cat consistently choosing this place, especially facing outward, it's not random, it's strategic. It's their version of staying between you and the unknown, just in case. Cats often protect what they love through presence, not display. They don't bark, stand guard, or patrol the halls loudly. They simply position themselves where they can see both you and the world. In their mind, that's safety achieved. It's a soft kind of guardianship, born of instinct, but shaped by affection. There's also a practical side. The feet of the bed are less disruptive. Your movements are fewer, your breathing steadier. From there, they can sleep deeply without surprise, but they also know they can reach you in seconds if needed. It's companionship measured in trust and subtlety, not ownership. Some behaviorists call this sentinel sleeping, and it's seen in bonded pairs of animals, too, one resting while remaining half aware, watching over the other. When your cat chooses that position, it's joining you in this ancient pattern, two species sharing the vulnerability of sleep, but taking turns at being watchful. It's touching, really, to realize that while you drift into dreams, someone small and quiet is keeping an eye on the doorway, listening to the house breathe. You don't see the loyalty in their eyes because they close them too eventually, but it's there in their posture, in their calm. So when you wake and find your cat nestled near your feet, facing the dark hallway, know that you've been cared for in silence, not out of duty, but devotion. Because in their quiet way, cats love by staying near, by watching, by waiting, by simply being there when the world is still. There's a special stillness before dawn, the kind of quiet that makes the whole world feel suspended in breath. It's the time when the stars begin to fade and the first hint of light stretches softly across the sky. If you look closely then, you might see your cat curled in its favorite spot, paws twitching gently, whiskers trembling as if in conversation with something unseen. That's no random movement. It's the rhythm of dreaming.
And for cats, this is when their dreams are most vivid. Cats are creatures of the twilight, crepuscular beings, most alert at dawn and dusk. In the wild, these were their hours of hunting and adventure. Even though house cats now live in warmth and safety, their inner clocks still follow that ancient rhythm. So just before the sun rises, when they're not stalking prey or exploring shadows, their minds turn inward, replaying the world in dream. During this time, their brains enter rapid-eye movement sleep, the deepest stage of dreaming. Scientists studying cats in this phase have seen brain patterns almost identical to those of waking moments. It's as if the cat is living again inside its memories, hunting, climbing, leaping, or chasing a sound only it can hear. Their paws twitch because their minds think they're moving. Their whiskers flick because they're sensing the air of an imagined place. No one can say exactly what cats dream, but we can guess. Perhaps they dream of the flutter of birds beyond the window, the soft crinkle of your blanket, the flicker of toys caught mid-pounce. Maybe they dream of you, your voice, your scent, the warmth of your lat. Their dreams, like ours, are stitched from memory and feeling, the mind's way of painting comfort in motion. There's a beautiful irony in it. Cats, the quiet watchers of dawn, spend their most vivid moments of imagination right before waking. While we sleep through the changing sky, they drift between two worlds, the real and the remembered, their minds lighting up in soft, invisible color. It's their secret hour of reverie, unseen, yet deeply alive. When you wake to find your cat already stirring, blinking slowly as light spills across the room, know then it's just returned from somewhere. A landscape of memories, hunts and play. A private dawn of its own making. It stretches, yawns, and steps back into the waking world, carrying traces of dreams that dissolve like mist in sunlight. There's something comforting about that while we dream of them, they dream too. And perhaps, just before dawn, for one fleeting moment, those two dreams overlap, human and feline, both resting in the hush before the day begins. Because for cats, dawn isn't just the start of the day. It's where their dreams burn brightest, glowing softly against the first light of morning. There's a quiet kind of magic that happens when you and your cat fall asleep together. You might not notice it, but if you listen closely, in that gentle space between wakefulness and dreams, you'll find your breathing has started to match. The rise and fall of your chest, the soft rhythm of your cat's body, they move together, as if drawn by the same invisible tide. Scientists call this rhythmic entrainment, when living beings in close connection begin to unconsciously synchronize their bodily rhythms. It's the same phenomenon that happens between mothers and infants, or between people deeply at ease with one another. Cats, for all their independence, often fall into this rhythm naturally with the humans they trust most. To them, your breathing is a sound of safety. The steady rhythm signals calm. The warmth of your body radiates stability. When they settle beside you, perhaps curled against your legs or stretched near your chest, their nervous systems begin to relax. The tempo of their breath slows to match yours. your serenity becomes theirs. But it doesn't flow just one way. Studies suggest that sleeping near pets can subtly influence human physiology too, lowering heart rate, easing anxiety, even regulating breathing patterns. Without realizing it, you might start inhaling and exhaling in the same cadence as your cat. Two species, two hearts, one shared rhythm of rest. For cats, who evolved as cautious creatures, this kind of synchronization is profound. It means they feel completely safe, enough to let their body fall into the rhythm of another's. It's a quiet surrender of vigilance, a trust so complete that even their breathing aligns with yours. If you've ever woken to find your cat pressed close, the two of you moving in near perfect sync, chest to chest, rise for rise, fall for fall, you've felt this silent bond. It's communication without words, intimacy without effort. The shared rhythm becomes a language of peace. I'm here. You're safe. We rest together. It's also a beautiful mirror of what connection really is. Not constant motion or noise, but gentle alignment. In those moments, your cat isn't just beside you, it's attuned to you. The two of you exist in the same pocket of stillness, breathing the same invisible rhythm, dreaming separate dreams under the same pulse of peace. So, the next time your cat curls close as you drift off, try noticing it, that soft harmony of breath. The world will fall quiet, the air between you will settle, and for a while, everything will move in unison. Two beings, one rhythm, no words, no noise, just the quiet music of trust. If you've ever dozed beside a sleeping cat and felt a faint warmth radiating from its fur, not just heat, but something softer, more alive, you've touched one of nature's quiet miracles. When a cat purrs in sleep, its body hums at a frequency so gentle it creates both warmth and stillness. The sound vibrates through muscle, bone, and fur, sending out ripples of comfort that you can feel even without hearing a thing. The purr isn't just sound, it's motion. When a cat purrs, tiny muscles within the larynx contract at a steady rhythm, around 25 to 150 vibrations per second. These subtle pulses travel through the cat's body, stimulating blood flow, loosening tension, and releasing warmth. It's a form of self-regulation, a natural lullaby that comforts both body and mind. Even in sleep, the vibration continues softly, keeping their body balanced and their rest deep. Their fur amplifies this warmth. Each hair shaft traps layers of air, holding temperature like an invisible blanket. The micro-vibrations from purring stir this air slightly, creating faint friction, a static shimmer that makes their coat feel alive to the touch. It's not enough to shock, but enough to make you sense it, a delicate warmth that seems to breathe through the fur itself. You might notice it most when your cat is pressed against you, their chest rising in small, even waves, the low hum barely audible. That warmth feels different from the heat of sunlight or fabric. It's more organic, pulsing gently with life. Scientists believe the frequency of a cat's purr has therapeutic qualities, not just for them, but for those nearby.
Those vibrations can help lower stress, reduce blood pressure, and even promote healing in bones and tissues. It's no wonder that a sleeping, purring cat feels like a living hearth. They generate warmth not through exertion, but through tranquility. The more peaceful they become, the warmer the world around them feels. In that way, the cat's body turns calm into energy, serenity transformed into touch. There's something quietly magical about it. While we chase comfort through movement, they create it through stillness. A cat at rest hums with the smallest possible effort, turning breath into warmth and vibration into presence. It's their way of filling the silence, not with noise, but with peace that can be felt. So the next time your cat sleeps against you, listen closely. You'll hear a sound softer than breathing. Feel warmth that seems to glow from beneath the fur. That's the music of rest, tiny waves of life rolling through the air between you. It's not fire, and it's not sunlight. It's something gentler, a warmth made of peace itself. In the quiet of night, when the world has fallen completely still, you might hear it, a soft sound, lighter than a sigh, coming from the cat sleeping nearby. Not a meow, not quite a purr, but a faint, fluttering chirp. It lasts only a second or two, delicate as a whisper, and then fades into the steady rhythm of breath. These tiny sounds often escape during dreaming, and they're as gentle and mysterious as the dreams themselves. When cats drift into REM sleep, the stage of deepest dreaming, their bodies relax almost completely. The muscles rest, the paws twitch, the eyes move beneath closed lids. Yet deep in the brain, electrical patterns surge with life, the same patterns seen when they're awake and alert. This is when cats relive fragments of the day, stalking, playing, running, purring. Sometimes those internal adventures spill over, producing faint vocalizations, chirps or trills or murmurs. To scientists, these sounds are the feline version of infant dream murmurs, soft, instinctive noises that happen when the mind explores feelings too simple or gentle for words. They're not cries or calls, but echoes of motion and emotion. The cat might be dreaming of chasing a toy, greeting you at the door, or dozing in the sun. The tiny chirp is the sound of memory turning into motion, sound turned into comfort. The phenomenon has a scientific beauty, but an emotional one too. A cat that murmurs in sleep feels utterly safe, safe enough to let its mind wander, its body loosen, its voice drift freely into sound. In the wild, such vulnerability would be rare. Here, it's a sign of trust, a creature so at peace in its surroundings that it hums to itself in dreams. You might notice their whiskers flick, paws curl slightly, or tail quiver faintly. For a few moments, they seem to live somewhere else entirely, inside a private world woven from memory and warmth. Then, as quickly as it began, the sound stopped. The breathing deepens again, and silence returns, a silence so soft it feels sacred. It's humbling, really, how something so small can feel so intimate. Those quiet chirps are reminders that even when asleep, your cat's mind is alive and feeling. It dreams not in words or images like we do, but in movement, rhythm, and sound,
the language of emotion at its simplest. So the next time your cat murmurs in its sleep, resist the urge to wake it. Just listen. Somewhere in that soft sound, you can hear what peace truly feels like. Life resting without fear. Comfort humming in its most delicate form. Because even in dreams, cats find a way to speak, not through words, but through whispers of joy.